What's going on, everyone? So we have finally arrived at our Smite Rank Joust item tier list. And this has been a long time in the making. I meant to do this a patch ago, but as you saw, everything changed. So right before I was about to record it, I decided just to wait. And so here we are, 10.5, and there's going to be a new update soon, 10.6, that's supposed to change a lot of things. So we might do another one very soon, similar to the Rank Joust one we just did for the gods. But with that out the way, we're going to be doing this similar to our Rank Joust God tier list, where this is going to depend on your rank and skill level, and I'm going to be trying to be as general as possible here, and there should be timestamps on the bar for each item, or they'll be in the description. And to be as clear as possible, where we rank these items within a given tier is going to be followed by some type of context, unlike the God tier list, as items are going to be either dependent on a type of class or god that would build it. So for example, we went over this, Breastplate of Regrowth is an extremely good item. It's busted, but only on gods who heal, like Herc or Neja. But if you put this on another god that doesn't heal, this item's bad, essentially, or at least not as broken. But because of this, we don't want to place an item lower just because they don't apply to every single god, as most items don't. So basically, we're just going to arrange this tier list based on the general context that they would be used in, and then we'll be explaining it too. So with that preface, let's begin with the item tier list. So right here, we have S being core, meaning that I think we agreed on this. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but S is going to be the core. So most of this is going to be the spot where you build an item that is almost always built on a select class of gods, for like tanks or hunters or whatever. You're almost always building this item, usually with no hesitation. You just build this item. And then we have A, which is great, meaning that an item is good. It's great. So it won't necessarily always be built on a god, but is an item you can look at and it should just do its job. It's really good. B is decent, meaning that it's okay in certain situations, but bad in others. You just have to figure that out, or read the room or the situation, whatever you're playing, whoever you're playing against. C is niche, meaning that you're barely ever going to use this item. There's only like specific cases in which you're going to. Otherwise, it's not really good. And then D, we put never, which means that you never build it because it's just dog water. So I think generally that's what we agreed upon. But yeah, let me pull up because I don't know every specific item, and sometimes I lose the names of shit. So
most part, I remember all the names and I know roughly what all of them do. I just don't know all the specific numbers.
Okay, we're back. I messed up something, but we're back. So I explained it. That's what this is. And then we have the items here. So what we're going to do, this is a little bit more complicated than the god tier list, because there is a lot of items, tier 2s and tier 1s, that I decided not to put in here for obvious reasons. I think there's like one item that is a tier 1 that I put in here, and you'll see that later. But I organized it to where from right here up until I think the rat acorns is just regular tier 3 items that you can build. And then obviously at the bottom here is all the starters that don't apply anymore, so I put that out of the way. So essentially we're going to go over the regular items in whatever order this is in, and then we're going to go over the glyphs, and then we're going to go over the relics, and then we're going to go over the tier 3 upgraded relics. And then that should be it. I think for the most part that's all the major items. So with that, let's start with Absolution. if I'm getting that right, because I don't ever build this. It is Absolution.
It's Absolution.
It's absolute dog shit.
Dog shit. So base stats has 60 magical prots. I think I that's the only thing I remember about it because I don't usually build it.
It has 70.
But oh, it has 70. Oh yeah, they
70.
buffed it.
Yeah.
They buffed it. And it doesn't have like other. It has health too, right?
Yeah. It's CC. I'm sorry. It's passive. When your ultimate is casting in a 50 unit radius, provides allies with CC immunity for 0.6 seconds, and this can only occur every 40 seconds, which doesn't. I mean,
it's on your ult.
Yeah, it's. I don't. What do you call this? It's like a niche of a niche. Like it's so niche.
The situation in which you'd be able to do this is like. It's so bad just because you never get to utilize the passive. The passive doesn't last long enough. It's contingent on you wasting your ult in order to get CC immunity for someone else.
Right, yeah. And in most cases, that's like, you're never going to use your ult in like a perfect scenario on a regular basis and then benefit from the passive. So you actually, you have to waste your ult just to, that's dumb.
Possibly the worst item in the game, honestly.
Yeah, and the next one is close to it, I think, to Abyssal Stone. But the base stats are kind of bad too. Like 70 magical protection is fine. It's very similar to every other magical item, so that's fine. 250 health is whatever. It's good. Nothing spectacular. And then it's 20% crowd control reduction, which is cool. But that's it. That's all the stats. Plus it's dog shit passive. I don't know why you'd ever build this item. So don't even look at this item for right now. And they're gonna change this as soon as this comes out. Watch.
It's gonna be OP as fuck. Watch.
Yes. And the next one is Abyssal Stone, which let me make sure, because yes, it is Abyssal Stone, because nobody ever buys this item. Let me look at it again. Yeah,
like,
no.
30 of each protection, or is it 40?
It's 40 of each protection with 300 health. And it's passive.
Okay, it has good base stats, but that's about it. Yeah,
it has good base stats. It has almost the exact same as Stone of Binding, but Stone of Binding has an insane passive. Abyssal Stone, for people who don't know, because it's a dogshit item, nobody really should know, it inflicts a 20% negative CDR for 4 seconds, which only occurs every 6 seconds, which is a short passive, I guess, but that's so incredibly niche. I don't think
people aren't really going to even notice it on the enemy team.
No, I mean, like, it might bring down your cooldowns for like 1 or 2 seconds, but it's not gonna. The odds of that proccing on somebody in like a very close situation to where like, oh, I need to get my cooldown right now, otherwise I'm gonna die, is not really that. And then also you have cooldown shard for the like half of the game, so
yeah,
don't
ever buy it.
Don't ever buy it until they buff it next patch, which they will. Watch. And then we have Druids. This was a busted item at one point.
It was busted at one point. I don't think it's horrible.
Archdruids.
I don't think you never build this. I honestly think nobody should build this, but I don't think it's bad. It's not comparable to Abyssal Stone.
No, or Absolution. Yeah, it's definitely niche. For people who don't know, it
really
was
good base stats. I believe it's 35 each prots and like a bunch of health as well.
Yeah,
and it's like the philosophy behind it is the more you get hit, you get stacks, and then when you auto attack somebody, you can do a bunch of damage back to them. So it's a good tank item for that.
Yeah, this was majority. This item actually had kind of a counterintuitive passive. I knew a lot of people were like, "Oh, this would be really good on Bologna. This would be good on Gilgamesh," but in fact, it's usually good on gods that, like Bacchus, who get damaged a lot and just have like one little swing, like a poly, essentially.
Or like Ymir, or like non-auto attack tanks.
But they shafted this item to where I don't remember what it was, but this used to be busted. Now it's like nowhere near to what it was before. It's not a terrible item. I just don't think I think most items just supersede this item. There's just better items in general.
Yeah.
But this isn't really that good of an
Prefer if
item.
you don't build this, but if you do, then it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the yeah. And then we have Arondight. Now in
I think I would say
Joust.
in Joust it's decent. Yeah.
It's decent.
A shitload of power.
Yeah, it's like
10% cooldown. I think it's
75 power. It's
which
like
is
one of the
low.
highest, I
Yeah.
think.
And then it's passive whenever you're done with your ultimate. Then
Yeah.
you gain movement speed towards specific targets. Very good chase down. It's a very good assassin item.
Yeah, like so a god like actually it's weird because this item's good on Kukulkan as well because of his
I was about
double
to
ult.
say, too. Certain warriors as well can utilize it.
Definitely on like Fenrir. Basically most assassins. However, I will say it's indecent because I think the other items that we're gonna get into
Just
are
supersede this.
just better, and then at that point there's no more item slots for you anymore. So you can definitely go this on gods like Fenrir. And then also this has I believe it it shows like if there's a Loki or somebody who's invisible on the map, it will show them, I believe. It reveals all gods or something after you ult. So that's also another little fun tip if nobody knew. But yeah, that's decent. Aussie.
Yeah, in Conquest, this is not.
No, in Conquest it's not
item.
great.
Not a fantastic item. In Joust, however, most hunters are going to be building Aussie.
Yeah, my initial thought is to put it in core. However, there are certain hunter items where you can forego this if you go this item, Devourer's Gauntlet. But for the most part, this is core. You usually either want to go. You can technically go straight into an Aussie, although I don't recommend it. I usually would say Transcendence into Aussie or Griffonwing into Aussie.
Another thing too, I also think Transcendence is better than Devo's Glove.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. But I think Aussie for the most part is like your second, maybe first item. Otherwise, if not, then you're going Devos. So I'd say core for most hunters.
Yeah, I agree.
Atalantas.
Never.
Why?
Yeah, dog shit. Dog shit.
It's a dog shit passive. They removed crit off this item. What else did they? They removed something, right?
They gave it at one point. It had crit and 20% pen.
Yeah.
It now only has 10% pen, no crit. Lackluster passive.
They destroyed his passive.
Has okay attack speed and like what does it have, like 40 power?
Yeah, it's 40 power.
It's just
It's so underwhelming. Let me read this again. Getting a killer assist gives you agility for 10 seconds. Your attack speed by 20% and decreases move penalty. But yeah, this is so niche. When are you killing a god and you're like, oh great, I get some fucking strafing and a little bit of attack speed. And it's so niche.
Anything is just a downgraded version of Bloodforge passive.
Yeah. So this is dog water. And then we have Bandcrofts, which is a very interesting item for me.
I would say it's decent. Okay.
My problem is that there's only like 3 gods.
You
that
build this on like Anubis, Hades. Sometimes even if you're playing those characters, I've seen people like not even build Bandcrofts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. So
you got Spear the Magus mixed with Typhons.
Yeah, they buff the hell out of Typhons.
I still think it's not a terrible item. I will say if you're playing like any mage, like if you're playing like a Baba Yaga or a Merlin or Morgan Le Fay, don't ever build lifesteal items.
Yeah, this is decent applying to gods like who have innate lifesteal, like Anubis and Hades. Or Ao Kuang
as well.
Maybe in Joust, but you don't really want to build out Kuang pure damage. Maybe like one item like this or whatever. But if you're gonna put this on any other god, this is never build this.
Yeah, it's a never tier.
So decent for lifesteal.
Honestly, I would argue niche because I didn't even consider like even on those characters, I don't really see people building Bandcrofts all too often.
I still think it's, yeah. I don't really see it either, but I feel as though with its glyphs as well, I don't know if I would put it in the same category as Archdruids.
That's fine.
I see that though. I
think it's fine where it's at.
You can forego Bandcroft definitely, but I still think it's got a good passive and it's got good damage and whatever. So, then we have Berserkers, which is no longer a hybrid item, which is cool.
I would still put it in great, to be honest. I think
yeah,
it's great.
for the auto attack gods like Vimana, Berserk, Bologna, Amaterasu.
Even on characters, I'm not saying you should build it on them, but you want to spice things up too. I've seen people like who are playing like Odin build Berserkers. They can fulfill some roles. It's actually decent.
Yeah, for the most part.
Protections, great HP 5, health, good passive.
Yeah, it's a very, it's very good. It has a very good passive, being below 50% health. It gives you damage mitigation, which I almost forgot about. It's not a lot, but it's 5%.
It used to be 10%, and then nerf the mitigation build.
And then it has 60 protections, that's a lot of protections for physical. So, it has a lot of stats. Yeah, this is a pretty good item. I wouldn't build on everybody, like he said, but definitely if you're playing like Bologna or Vimana, you kind of like always want to build this. So.
Yeah, like I wouldn't build this on Kukulkan, or I wouldn't build this on really Sun Wukong or anything like that. Like more so auto attack based characters. The reason why I say Odin is because Odin does have a small attack speed stim.
Yeah, within his kit.
I've seen some people utilize it that way.
Yeah. Bladed Boomerang. I don't think crit is almost.
I don't think crit. Well, here's the thing: are we gonna put all crit items in Never Build?
No, I think there's a few. There's a few that I'm gonna put in niche.
Okay.
And so my thinking is, and this is my based off the top. Seeing as spectrals in the game, we've already talked about this. There's really no point of going crit, and then especially with early game crit item like Bladed Boomerang, if you build this last item for like that one little inkling of crit after like the enemy tank has already built its build and not building spectral, I don't think Bladed Boomerang you're ever going to want to go. And if you build this early, then you're just asking for them to build spectral. So that's my initial thought. I don't know what you think. Because it is a very cheap item, but you always really want to build this like early game.
Right. One of those things where like in Conquest, this is actually an item.
Yeah.
This inherently the stats on it are actually very good. It's just we're not in a crit meta in Joust.
Yeah.
I mean, I would move it up to niche, to be honest, because there's sometimes people can. I don't think a crit build is absolutely horrible. But I would definitely prefer. I would like don't build crit, but like if you do build crit, it's not necessarily the end of the world. I would say it's not atrocious.
No, it's just that in my eyes, it's like, why would you ever build crit when it reduces your damage by 30%? When you can always have that constant Kins, Executioner, Aussie damage that never gets.
Yeah, it's inherently worse off than that build type.
But if you do catch like a squishy out for some reason, you can delete them. But so I guess generally, yeah, I'd put this in niche generally because not everyone is going to be close to their fucking tank, even though they really should be. If they're building crit, stay by your tank and tell them to buy Sundering or not Sundering, Spectral. Then we have Bloodforge. Recently got reverted.
It got reverted essentially. It's still very good. I'd say it's great.
Yeah. And what was it? 75 power. They still have that movement speed. Or the movement speed.
A shitload of movement speed when you get a kill, plus the shield.
Now,
big power spike.
Now this can be good for hunters, too, but I think mainly
it's mostly assassins.
More for assassins.
Some warriors, depending if you just need power in your build.
Yeah, I can definitely see this on ability-based gods, or even a Hachiman, because Hachiman overcaps his auto attacks without ever building full auto attack items. So if you ever wanted to build like a last item, you can't think of anything, Bloodforge isn't a bad item to just slap on for most, almost all assassins and a few hunters. God, this thing is just...
I would say niche.
Yeah, it's just not...
can still utilize it, but even then, it's just...
They...
Why wouldn't you just go early flat pen or a Chronos Pendant?
Yeah. By the way, this isn't the stacked picture of Book of Thoth, but just assume that we're talking about the stacked version, because I think there's a different picture of this. That's stacked,
it gives you a load of power. They nerfed the power quite a bit, or they nerfed the mana it gives you, so the power went down. Yep. Also, I believe it still gives you 10 flat pen, right?
Yeah, it still gives you flat pen.
So I mean, not terrible. It's just hard to get online, or it's just like compared to other items, more of a late game item.
Yeah. I think that with them reducing the cost of Spear of Desolation, I don't think there's ever a point of why, and then also them murdering this item in terms of like the mana and as well as the power obviously it gives. There's just no point of going Book of Thoth when
over other items, yeah.
When there's other just better items.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just...
It's not like horrible, though. It just gets outshined by other things.
Yeah, and it takes 75 stacks to get online when you can get Spirit of Desolation online right out the gate. So, for cheaper, I believe it's cheaper, so a lot cheaper. Yeah. Maybe Cuckoo. That's probably about it. Maybe Baba. Maybe. Brawler's Beatstick. It's also situational, too.
I would say great. It's great, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm fine with great.
It has a lot of power. I believe is it 50 or 55?
I think it's 50. Let me check again, though.
I believe it's 50 as well. I think it will...
Oh, shit, it's 55.
No, it's 55. Okay,
they never nerfed it. Yeah.
So it's got a load of power. You definitely want to build this whenever there's healing on the enemy team, so it fills that role perfectly. Does a lot of power. Also has its own passive, which I believe is the one where it gives you more power after you hit somebody with it.
Yeah, it creates it's a niche part of it. It's not really that good.
Yeah, you're not really building it for that part of it. It's just kind of an added little effect, like, oh, okay, that's cool. But
yeah,
for the most part, you're building this for the flat pen, 15 flat pen, all the power, and then the anti-heal.
Yeah.
Which for the most part, you generally want to buy this item whenever you have going up against healers. But even if like they don't have really any good healing abilities, it's always just kind of good to have. You have like a hunter who's like Aussie healing or Devo's Gauntlet healing, or just because they might have like healing pots, just helps out.
Yeah.
Also, it just is a good damage item overall.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of really high stats. It almost has 60 power. They buffed this like a while ago and they never touched it. And this is also specifically good. Like he was saying, you don't even need to build this if they're not you can still build this if they're not even building any healing, or they don't have like any type of healing, for two reasons. One being with the new meta of 2 squishies, the physical flat pen is going to come in really clutch, especially on an assassin. You'll be able to destroy them. And then the power, it gives so much power that even if they don't have healing, it doesn't matter. You're just fucking destroying. So this is definitely a great item. And then I hate this item so much, but
into core.
Yeah. Breastplate of Regrowth.
Granted, the passive on this, the stats are extremely good. I believe it's 55 physical prots. You get 300 mana, some MP5 as well,
and the cooldown.
And then you get 10% cooldown. 2150 gold, I believe, or it might have been bumped up to 2250. I'm not sure. Either way,
I think it's 2250. It's cheap as shit.
It's still cheap as shit. Its passive gives you power and movement speed every single time you use a healing ability, which is absolutely disgusting. Now, here's the thing. This only works for characters that have built-in healing abilities. So, Hercules, build this on Mulan with her 2. You can build this on, it works on Bakasura, it works on
here. Like there's so many.
There's a bunch of them. And any of those characters that you can actually proc this, very good.
Yeah, I think on
very good.
Like most of them, like Guan Yu, always build this. Hercules, always build this. Neja, always build it. There's if you're healing, if you have consistent self-sustain, you're always building this item. Because this item is essentially, in my mind, it's like, okay, it has this, it has that. Oh, not only that, but it has this. But wait, there's more. You have movement speed. But wait, there's more. You have 50. Yeah, you can build this on chalk. This item is they nerfed it by, I think they made it more.
They made it slightly more.
That's not the problem.
100 more. It's the stats.
This item is ridiculous. And I almost want to say that you can still build this on other gods because of the bloated stats, but I still think there are better items you can go. So on most gods, don't build this, except for the healing gods. Always build.
I would say like Breastplate of Valor is kind of like a better version of this, with just the base stats alone, without a passive.
Yeah. You also get a glyph too. So
yeah. So on characters that don't have healing abilities, don't build this item. It's kind of, you're kind of trolling if you're doing that. You mainly want to build this only on healing characters that can utilize the passive, and for those characters, you want to always build this for the most part. Yep.
And then talking about breastplate, we have Breastplate of Valor.
I'd put it, it's great.
Yeah, I think it's a great item. I think it's all around just...
I kind of view this as like the defensive Chronos Pendant.
Yeah. It has almost 70 protections, I think. It has 65 protections.
65 protections, 300 mana, 20%
cooldown reduction.
And then it's got glyphs to go with it, too.
Yeah, it's got the glyphs. Which we'll talk about.
It's not necessarily a core item, but it's very, very good.
Yeah, I still think there are better items that are more for Joust. There are some other physical items that we'll get into that I think are just better here for your solo tank. Because this is sort of like a selfish-ish type of item.
It's a very selfish item, although it can be, if you need cooldown, if you're like if you need cooldown for your CC, it could also technically be helpful for your team as well.
Yeah, so
that way.
And then we have Cad Club, right? Caduceus.
I think it's decent. It's okay.
It's okay.
Not a lot of power. Makes you tanky. Has a lot of health. Gives you and your team movement speed and cooldown. Not a lot. It's like 4%, but
yeah. Didn't they add like crowd control reduction and this movement
crowd
speed?
Control reduction as well. It's not a terrible item.
Yeah, but, it's kind of underwhelming compared to other items that you can build here.
A little bit underwhelming, but still decent.
They're still decent. We'll get into another item that I think is just better than this item. I, for the most part, would not build this that often, but it's not a terrible item if you go.
Yeah, if I see someone building this, I'm like, okay,
it's fine. Yeah,
fine.
And then this item. So before we touch this.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before. We talked about this in a video before. We're like, oh, this thing's gonna be fucking busted. It's definitely certainly a lot better than what it once was, and I personally still think it's really good. For me, we can talk about this. I want to put it in A.
I would put it in B.
And you want to put it in B. So
I would put it in B strictly because so it has really good health and base. It's got decent base stats. I personally don't think the passive is all. I thought it was going to be busted as hell when it got buffed, but I personally don't really think that it's that great of an item. I mean, it's cheap as hell. You get decent. It's not the best base stats, but you get decent base stats. And then the passive, giving people gold. I don't really see the because I built it a few times when it first got updated, and I was like looking at the gold count, and like was maybe by the end of the game giving my teammates like an extra, I don't know, like 300, 400 gold by late game. It just didn't seem that influential to me. I would much rather just go a Gauntlet of Thebes or anything else. I feel like because by the end of the game, once late game rolls around, I just feel like selling this item and buying something else to make myself either tankier or give myself more utility.
Yeah. And now my argument for this is like is everything that he said, but like a different view on it. So essentially, yeah, it's very cheap. I think if this wasn't a cheap item, I don't think I'd ever buy this. But we've tested this. We ran it a few times. You get this item like after
1 minute.
after like wave
Not even
1.
a minute. Yeah.
You get it with 1 minute with the new spooling. You go back after wave 1 and get this. So like within a minute you have this item. Which
you can
means
buy tier 2. When you buy tier 2 of this, of the Gauntlet of Thebes tree, this only costs 750 extra gold. You're left with, after buying tier 2, I believe 200.
250. I think it's 250.
It's either 200 or 250 gold. So plus there's an added, you get 7 gold per second.
Yeah.
And then you go to the wave and maybe get a buff or something. After the first wave and getting like blue buff or red buff, whichever, you pretty much can back immediately and get a full tier 3 item.
Yeah. And so
it's really great early game.
It's I think that's what makes it, in my opinion, A. I don't think it's core, because you can definitely go past this item and you'll still be fine. But for me, when you buy this item after like wave 1, you then can go into your gauntlet. Now you're not going to get it as quickly as you were to build it first item, but for how quickly you get Canoneers online, the amount of gold that you're going to be giving to your players, like he said, 300-400, I don't, depending on how well you're able to use the item, you have to use the item. You can't just not hit the wave. If you don't hit the wave, then you're not really using its passive at all, because it also clears minion waves too. So you have to make sure you're using the item. But the 30 protections, 300 health, and 20 HP 5 also makes it to where your early game, you don't have to worry about like getting one shot as a tank, because when you're in a tank and you get like a fresh Gauntlet of Thebes or even a fresh prophetic cloak, not as much as a prophetic because you get protections straight out the bat with prophetic, but you're still really squishy when compared to buying Canoneer. So it's almost like it's not good stats, it's not great stats, but for early game, what it gives you, I think, is really good. And then
I think it's probably the most bloated early game item in the game, but once you guys start to get the mid-late game, I feel like selling it. I look at my build and I'm like, I want to get rid of this thing.
And once you get to a point, I think selling it is worth it, even though you're not getting like the maximum amount of gold that you would get for hitting each wave by keeping it the entire game. I think you sell this. You can even make an argument you sell this like 4th, after you get like your 4th item online. I mean, you can still keep it, but I think you sell it, and then that's it. It's just like an early just like an early game thing. That's why I think it's A. We're both pointing out like very similar things, and they both have definitely good merit. I don't think you need to build it all the time. Like I said, you can go without it, but for me, I just like the early game. I've noticed whenever I built it that I don't feel as squishy, and then also I can clear like this is a big minion for free and then give 15 gold to my player. I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, it'd be fine to put it in A, to be honest.
But like he said, you do want to sell this, and I agree with him. You do want to sell this, as after early game it's kind of mid. So yeah.
Because once you get the late game, the passive is kind of negligible.
Yeah, at that point it's not. No.
And it's kind of like the base stat. You're basically just working out the base stats, and there's plenty of other items that have better base stats, and they also give you passives that are just better than it. So
that is true. That is true. Yeah. Charon's coin. Now this is stacked, obviously.
I would argue. I think it's A. I think it's great.
Yeah, I like this item. However,
I don't think you build it all the time. Unless you're too much Joust, you're not always going to get stacked up.
But I think that the one thing that Charon's coin doesn't give credit is that it gives, well, it used to give flat 20%. I think it's 16% now that they removed the
Well, it's essentially,
but it's essentially the same.
Like similar.
The passive is cool and all, but it's not like, it's not extraordinarily significant to where if you don't get it stacked, it's fine for the most part. I
mean, I still view it as a better version of Obshard, to be honest.
Yeah, it is a better version of Obshard in terms of that, except for like obviously Obshard's passive with its extra percent pen on specific gods. But yeah, although I don't know, I want to put it in decent because Rod of Tahuti and Doom Orb are a thing.
Well, I was gonna say, because I think it's great, but you also have to make sure your padding stats, your mid-maxing things, because now you've got where the Magus has 10% or 8% penetration.
Yeah.
You've got Rod Tahuti, you got Doom Orb. So then if you build those 3 items together, then like you're overcapping if you build a one that's got 16% pen.
Yeah. Usually I don't buy this item except maybe if I'm playing like Baba.
You also got Staff of Mirrodin too.
Yeah, that's kind of why I want to, because I think all those items are better than Charon's. So it's definitely a really good item. If you buy it, you're not trolling. It's a good item, but I don't think when you're comparing it to like the other items that are in the meta right now, I just don't think it's as good.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. If I'm gonna be honest though, I think you should move Bandcrofts down the niche though, because I don't feel comfortable that being.
Both being
Cad Club, Arondight, and all that. I think those are way better than Bandcroft.
Okay, we can do that. Let's see how the people, the Anubis gamers and the Hades gamers.
Fucking.
That's fine. No, I kind of agree with it.
Bandcrofts like traditionally is usually a noob item. A lot of people like to latch onto it.
Yeah, and this isn't dual, so.
Yeah.
What was that? So Charon's B Chronos. That's one of the easiest.
Yeah. You build it on like. There's so many people you can build on. If you Guardians do it for the passive and the cooldown, just being able to use your abilities more, then also you get a little bit more power. It's great on Guardians, great on mages for the most part. Most mages are going to want to build this, especially first item. Yeah.
With the removal of Sands of Time, this is essentially it. Sands of Time gave you MP5, good power with its passive along with mana, and then it gave you a little bit of cooldown.
We talked about that in an older video too, that like if you're building Sands of Time, then don't build Chronos Pendant. Well, now Sands of Time is out of the picture, so this is the new Sands of Time.
This is essentially the new Sands of Time, and a lot of people don't know this, but tier 2 of this, which costs 1400 gold, gives you, I don't remember how much MP5, I think it's 10 or 15 MP5. So right out the gate, when you buy this tier 2, you're already getting a little bit of MP5. And not only that, it gives you 20 MP5 once you fully build this, plus cooldown. So it literally is essentially Sands of Time. You almost want to build this on every single god, except maybe like a few. But for the most part, always build this first item. It's core. Fall from Grace.
I don't think it's terrible. I would say it's decent, to be honest.
Decent? Yeah. Let me think about this.
I don't think it's crazy. It's got really good base stats.
Yeah.
Gives you MP5, gives you good protections. Gives you some good mana. So it's good to sustain. It's honestly good for MP5. It's good for your mana reserves. Good protections. And then it's passive. I mean, you're not gonna knock like it's an anti-heal tank item. So it's either that or Pestilence.
Yeah.
Plus it's got the added effect of damaging. I know the damaging effect used to be bloated.
It's kind of dog water now.
Yeah. I think it's like one of those effects where like you have a disgusting like S tier item, when it gets nerfed to where it's not disgusting anymore, you want to think it's absolutely horrible, but I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah, in terms of anti-heal items, it's fine. It's either that or Pestilence, like he said.
I prefer this over Pestilence, if I'm being honest.
No, yeah, I do too. But to be clear, don't build this unless there's like decent anti-heal, because there's definitely better items that you can go that isn't
like brawlers. Even on tanks you can build a brawler just for a little bit of damage and the better anti-heal effect.
Yeah, and there's also other physical items that we're going to get into that are better. But yeah, for anti-heal, it's definitely better than Pestilence. And it has pretty decent stats. The MP5 I almost forgot about, so I forgot this gave MP5, so this actually might be
I mean, I don't build it often. I do build it sometimes if I need anti-heal, plus I'm like, oh, well, I don't have any mana either, because that's usually a problem that I have. I don't have a whole lot of mana, so it helps out with MP5 as well. Not a load, but it does help out.
Yeah. Then we have the new ring, Cyclopian Ring. It can't be decent. There's no shot.
It's not decent. I would say it's niche. I mean, actually, no. I would say it's never used.
I was gonna. So I wasn't. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing: is that magical ADCs are already not really that good right now.
Yeah.
And even if you were to build magical ADC, Demonic Grasp comes first. Telekines is also kind of bad, but even then, Telekines
Still
is better
better,
than Cyclopian. And then by that time, most magical ADCs, you don't want to build full ring build. Hastened is also better. This is the worst out of all the rings, to be honest.
Yeah. I was thinking of Hastened when I was looking at this item. I was gonna say Freya. Out of all of the ADCs, I think Freya is the best with this ring.
And even then, I don't really build it on her.
Yeah. So, obviously, caveat: you can make any item technically work, but that might not just be because of the item; it might be your skill and also the other people you're playing against. But generally speaking, yeah, this item is a wannabe Kins. It's not that good. Fun fact: this item gives you 10% cooldown, which I did not know.
Yeah, gives you cooldown.
That's wild to me. Why did I not know this? Wait, what the hell?
Because you don't build it.
That's probably, yeah, because nobody builds this item.
When I saw this, I actually liked it because I used to magical ADCs, especially Freya, if you're going full ring builds, they usually don't have any cooldown.
Yeah.
Which I used to always like to have at least like 10% or 20% cooldown on Freya, just because they make it to where like every single time you use your 2, you'd have to wait like 3 seconds before you can attack people again. Versus if you have a small amount of cooldown, it's like by the time your 2 is over, you only have to wait like a second or half a second before you can just start mollywopping them again. So they gave like 10% cooldown when they introduced it. And I was like, oh wow, this might be really good, but it just doesn't do as much damage as as you would think on paper.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because on paper, when you're reading this, it deals 7% of target's maximum health every 10 seconds, which is long, but 2 seconds reduced after every successful basic attack. So like on paper, like, oh, that sounds really nice, but the applicability of that, especially when, like he said, magical ADCs are bad, is just not. You're never gonna do anything with that compared to any other item. Plus, it has 70 power. That's gross. Get out of here.
Yeah, it's not good.
Dawnbreaker.
Yeah, don't build this item.
Yeah. I remember FineOK tried to make a build with this on Thor. It just, even when he was playing it, it was just so lackluster. Its stats are mediocre at best. It has a cool 20% CCR, crowd control reduction.
And then the passive is just
When are you ever gonna... You get, what do you get? Protections and movement speed. What? No. When are you gonna cast your ult and your... I mean, like, I guess on Thor, for example, your protections and movement speed are cool, but it's only increased by 5%. That's nothing. That's weak sauce. I don't know, what are you gonna do with 5% extra? Especially when there are other items, so... Don't ever build this, please. Deathbringer. Deathbringer.
This is the thing, I feel weird about crit right now.
I do too.
Again, I'd say it's niche.
This is the one item I think it's niche. The one crit item I think is niche. Now the one reason I say that is because you can build this last item, and like we said earlier, you can fit in... I think we said this in another video. I don't remember which video we said it, but you can fit in a crit item at the very end, technically.
Yeah, alongside, because usually like when people build like the Kins, Transcendence, Griffonwing build, you know, like the traditional damage auto attack, usually there's like at the 5th or 6th item slots, like, oh wait, what do I build now? It's like, oh wait, I can fit in an oboe, I can go at Titan's Bane, I can do this, maybe do I do this? And if you really wanted to, you can put in one crit item if you really wanted to. Because, I mean, it's not like it's like, oh, you're building a crit build anymore. Not really. For the most part, you still have the normal big damage build. Your 5 other items.
Yeah.
So if you want to just spice things up just to get the occasional, like, big, heavy crit off of the rest of the power you have, you can build one single crit item.
Yeah, I'll agree to that, except...
That's not meta, though, I wouldn't say. Absolutely
yeah, in the meta, currently meta, it's not this... It can work... That's why it's a niche with this specific item, but it costs. They nerfed it. First of all, they nerfed the power, I think, and then they also it's 2,900 gold.
Well, they nerfed the glyphs on it as well,
and they nerfed the and they nerfed the glyphs. So it's even. This is why it's niche. Did we agree on this, or did I forget to move this down to never?
I think we agreed to this.
Did we?
Because I said that it was like, still on paper, like good stats. It's just where it's at because crit is not very good right now.
I really want to put this down at never. Because this item being on the same playing field as Deathbringer makes me want to throw up.
That's fine.
Because
put it down to never though.
I think, what did I said that this item you're never building late game. I don't think it's ever worth building late game. So I don't. Whatever. Deathbringer here. Shit, I lost my train of thought. 20. This is almost 3,000 gold. This can technically work. I would not recommend it, especially in this meta with Spectral. But you can technically can. You're risking it though, and you're also not getting an item on as quickly. So do this at your own will, I guess.
I mean, you could also. Here's the thing too. That the reason why it's also here too is that it can work on Sir Cat and Neja.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
You can Neja because people who have built-in crit into their kits, you build one crit item and it's like they have a semi like crit build.
Yeah.
And not having to invest a bunch of items into crit, you just do one.
Yep, that's also a good point too. Demon Blade is a worse version of Bladed Boomerang with the reduced to its attack speed. So, yeah.
Yeah, don't ever build that.
I build fucking Bladed Boomerang over Bladed or Demon Blade, and don't build this though. So, Demonic Grasp, God.
I think that's niche.
Yeah, it can't be in the same as Cyclopian. It's better than Cyclopian.
Again, this is probably, this and Hastened Ring are probably the best two rings for ADCs, magical ADCs.
And that's not saying much.
But magical ADCs right now are kind of poopy, so.
Yeah. This is your percent pen, essentially. It acts as percent pen for the most part and reduces your magical protection by like 9%, I think, and it has weak stats. It's like 75 power. It's essentially your if there's like tanks or whatever, penetration.
Yeah.
So
it's like it's equivalent to Executioner for magical.
Yeah, it's essentially that. I know a lot of people don't ever build this item, and so that's probably why. Devourer's Gauntlet. This is obviously the stacked form, pretending it's the stacked form.
I would say it's I don't think it's core.
Okay.
I would say it's good though. It's got good power. It gives you just gives you power and power pen and lifesteal, a lot of it.
Yeah, so
I still prefer Aussie over Devos, at least in Joust. Now in Conquest, obviously this is flipped around dramatically. Devos is better.
Oh yeah, Transcendence is not really good in terms of hunters, at least. Now my take on this is this. So you either go Devourer's Gauntlet if you're doing stacking items for hunters and you're not going straight into like a Griffonwing Aussie. You're either building Devourer's Gauntlet or Transcendence, and with the recent buff to this, giving it 15 flat pen, this item is still good in Joust. I think for the most part, this is how you differentiate the two. And we can disagree if you want. I'm open to it. When you build Devourer's Gauntlet, you're playing an auto attack based god. So like Rama,
right, yeah.
Whatever. If you're building Transcendence, you're building a god like Xiblanque, Uller, Hachiman, Chiron. Those are the gods you're building it on. If you're playing like Rama or something, I think you should build this over Transcendence. It's essentially absolutely the thing.
I would say though, I'm comparing it to Aussie though as well.
Yeah, Aussie's really good too. So
I honestly in Joust believe that Aussie is just better than Devos. That's why I don't think it's core.
Yeah, I think that the two differences. I think that the difference though is that you can build Devourer's Gauntlet and still be better than Aussie due to the flat pen, especially against the new meta with the two backliners. So you just have to get it stacked online if you're looking to kill the squishies. There is a trade-off. Aussie, I think, is better in generally because it has a lot of power. Still, they actually buffed its power twice without nerfing it. So it does have a lot of power, and it gets online a lot faster. But
It helps with your attack speed getting online as well.
yeah, it does that too. So, but generally speaking, Devour's Gauntlet, auto attack based. Transcendence is more the ability based hybrid type. So I'm fine with keeping it in A. And then Divine, that has to be S.
Yeah, that's S.
It's
You
one of the
build this on
easiest
every
S.
mage, essentially.
They don't even need to have healing.
No, they don't even have to have healing. This is a anti-heal item, 40% anti-heal, but and also
The chain
has
lightning,
the chain lightning effect,
which is disgusting.
very good. Keep item.
Yeah.
15 flat pen, and then it gives you 100 power.
And
Very good.
on paper, it's like it's kind of that's good stats. But we're also, not only are we sort of in a flat pen meta in all game modes, but in Joust, I'm going to keep harping on this. When you have 2 backliners, you're going to want to build 2 flat pen items, as you can quite literally one-shot Squishy if you have double flat pen, Spear of Desolation, and Divine. So, and
It's like
also,
the classic combo.
yeah, that is the classic combo. And also, if they do have healing, cool. You killed what is it, two birds with 1 stone, or whatever the hell. So yeah, I mean, there's not much else. This is just a really, really, really good item. Dominance.
I'd say I don't think it's core. I'd say it's great though. You see this on a lot of ADC builds. I think it's on most builds.
Yeah.
You can get away with not building it in certain scenarios though.
Yeah.
Sometimes where like you prioritize other items in conjunction with each other over dominance being in your slot, but dominance in an ADC build, very good.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when I've been playing Hunters a lot recently, I always build dominance towards like the 4th, mostly time. It's the 5th item. It's usually the 5th item. You don't need this item, technically, but whenever I'm like, okay, I have all the items that I know I need to build on a Hunter. What's left? I'm not building crit. I don't like crit right now. Oh, there's dominance. Sure, why not? It's just one of those items where you're like, sure, it has what? It has fucking physical pen and its basic attack autos. That's kind of nutty. They added attack speed on it. It has really good power. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, this is a type of item you're like, oh, okay. Well, I've already built all my necessary items. Oh, look, there's dominance. Sure, why not? This is a good item. So, yeah, I agree with the great. And then we have Doom Orb.
I think Doom Orb is also great.
Yeah, I'd say great. I would say it was core a little while ago until they nerfed it. But still good.
Power, good movement speed passive. Even the tier 2 of this is good. Has a similar passive to the fully upgraded version.
I think its tier 2 is probably one of the best tier 2s, actually.
Yeah, it's that in Oboe. Oboe has that.
Yeah, Oboe's too.
Where the tier 2 has a lower difference, or it's at the same passive with just a lower numbers essentially.
Yeah, it has a bunch of bloated stats. As soon as recently they added pen, I think they reduced its power or something. They reduced something.
They reduced its power a little bit. I
believe. This also has MP5 too, which is a sleeper thing because on gods like E-Shell, you can build this second item after Chronos plus the 20 from Chronos plus your blue buff. E-Shell destroys your mana. Like, she's so mana hungry. So you can build Chronos, Doom Orb, and you never really have mana problems, as well as the movement speed. So for the most part, I'd build this on gods like Hebo, or gods that don't have like
definitely build
getaways.
This on Poseidon.
Yeah, build this on Poseidon, the Morrigan, obviously. But even if you aren't those gods, if you want to put this in like 5th, 6th item, you can. It's not a bad choice. Due to its like physical pen and all its bloated stats. So yeah, it's definitely great. Emp armor. Yeah, I think it's core.
I would say core.
Even more now.
Yeah. So got great base stats. It's extremely cheap, so you can rush it. Especially since the towers in Joust are way more disgusting. It just makes it to where it's easier to siege with it, and then it's also easier for you to defend. And also, whenever you build this item, it generally makes it to where the enemy also builds this. Now you have 2 emp armors on the thing.
Yeah, you can force them to get it, and this is always a thing I think I need to keep reminding people is that like when you build emp armor, when you're defending, you're always the positive. Like you have the advantage in terms of them.
Advantage.
It's like a slight advantage. It's like 10% increase, but even a 10% increase in attack speed is a fuck ton on this map. If you've seen the tower, so the tower changes. So I think you can build this. What, like first? I'm sorry, not first. Like second, third item, or if you just want to wait. If you don't feel like building Emp, you don't technically have to. But you can just like wait for them to see if they build Emp, because it's a very annoying item, to be fair.
Yeah.
And when you're building Emp, a lot of the times I'm just like, all right, well, not only were we never going to be able to siege their tower, but even if there was like a slight chance where we could get just in there for a second, I'm not doing it because of Emp now. So, you know, prioritizing Bull Demon. So this item just changes everything. So, what do you say? Like, when do you usually buy it? I'm not usually one that plays the tank. Like second, third, and then.
I generally buy it. I've bought it sometimes first item. I bought it back before I used to buy in the old map when I had a starter. I used to buy it first item. In this, without starter items, generally second item for the most part. Sometimes third, but most of the time I buy it second item. I usually allocate the first item to either being Gauntlet of Thebes or Amulet.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's core. And then we have a very interesting Erosion. I want to be niche. And I think it's barely in niche, only because there are like a couple specific gods. Don't ever build this item, please. Like if they're building Shell and you're like, oh, I can build Erosion, and that no don't do that.
Because most of the time you're not near them anyway.
Yeah.
To Shell.
It gives you
very niche in these scenarios. It gives you subpar base stats, like 30 of each prot and like 250 or 300 health, which is okay, I suppose.
But that's it.
It's passive. Even when you're utilizing the passive, like I'll give you an example. It works on like Jeb shields or Geb shields, and it works on Vamon if you're standing near him. It's only 30% reduction. But, like, they're still getting a really good benefit out of those shields. You're reducing it by a little bit, but like you're building an entire item centered around that, and most of the time it's just built into their kits. So I don't know. It doesn't seem warranted.
No, it's a very bad item, and even though it's kind of cheap, it should. 30% isn't anything in terms of shields. Now, I don't remember if we tested this on Vamana, but Vamana gains shields like right after the other, or like constantly, not all at once.
It does. It works every single time.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. So Erosion really is only a Vamana item, and even then, it's sort of just like it feels weird. It feels bad. Like you're wasting a slot for this thing.
I've built it I've only built it specifically against Vamana, and even then, it feels gross building it. I don't like building it. They
should put this honestly like 50% or something more, because like 30% is weak. I don't know. What are you supposed to do with that? Other than that, no, don't ever build that. Only like Vamana, maybe. So, E-Staff. That's definitely a great item.
I think it's great, yeah. I think it's more so a Guardian item.
Yeah, definitely a Guardian item.
I don't really see you building this too much on a mage. You can, though, and it's still going to be okay.
Yeah.
But it makes you it gives you damage, steals people's health away, and then it makes you even tankier.
Yeah, as a Guardian, you obviously build this like 5th, 6th item, maybe with Soul Reaver or like a Chronos or something else. Flat Pen, maybe, if you wanted to do that.
We usually go full tank and then like an E-Staff and a Chronos Pendant.
Yeah. You can, like you said, you can build this on Mage. You used to do this a lot more when there was a double tank meta because of how much health they would usually get. So it would be worth to do that. I think it's even worse now. Although I still think you can still build it.
I still think it's great though.
But yeah, it is still great. Nothing really changed to it, but yeah. If you can't think of an item to build, Ethereal Staff is always there, and you can always build it. It's always good. Gauntlet of Thebes goes right to core.
Yeah, could honestly be considered the best item in the game. One of them.
Yeah, that with Prophetic. Both of those are similar in terms of whatever, just depending on which one you stack.
Disgusting.
I don't know. Do we need to go over this? I mean, it has
you get a shit ton of each protection, good HP, and you also giving your teammates a little bit of health as well. Definitely. Here's the thing though, you need to build this like first or second item. You don't want to build this fourth, fifth, sixth item.
Please don't, God.
It's a stacking item. I've seen some people do that.
And no, it hurts my soul.
What's wrong with you?
You're never getting that stack.
Something you have to realize about this though is that because it's a stacking item, when you first buy this, you just have to pretend like you don't even have an item. Yeah,
you don't have any protections once you first get it.
You only start to really feel the benefits of this after you've maybe gotten assist on 2 or 3 waves where you get like maybe like 25 stacks. Once you get around like 25 stacks, okay, you feel a little bit tankier.
Yeah. But definitely always, if we'll talk about this once we get to prophetic, the difference between when to go each or either.
Right, yeah.
But this is definitely one of the items that you should always be looking at when you're the tank, the first item. Rage.
Never.
When are you ever getting that stack?
Again, this is kind of self-explanatory based off of things we said about the other crit items.
Yeah, and you have to stack to get its stats. You're never doing that. Even on like a... No, I'm not going to even go into this. You're never putting this on even assassins.
Never.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
So...
Bad. Not, has subpar base stats. Has really good MP5. That's about it, but there's plenty of other items that give you that.
Yeah.
Has subpar magical defense stats, and then the shield, the health shield you get from healing people. Not only can you only build this on certain characters like Guan Yu and Horus. Those are like the only few that you can use. A few others too, but those are like the main 2. They're just better items, and also unlike Manticore Spice, where it's similar to Manticore Spice, where like the person needs to pick it up. It just the benefit's not as high.
Yeah.
Isn't that great.
There's just better items. There's better healing items. Like like any of the other healing items you think of is probably better.
Yeah, it's just better.
Fail not. Putting that.
I say it's niche because although it is a crit item, you can't knock at
20% cooldown. Jesus.
It gives you penetration.
It gives you 40 power. Yeah.
The base stats alone are disgusting, and then the passive is okay. The only thing is like, again, this doesn't fit. It's kind of like there's already a bunch of items that were when in conjunction with each other. You already get cooldown, or you already get this and that. It's still good, still a decent item, but like
better items.
There's better.
Also,
there's better
crit's
items.
not in meta, so
yeah.
This item was
I'd say is niche.
I remember it got buffed a while back, and nothing's really happened to it.
I mean, it's not horrible. Still can serve a purpose. It's just, again, the passive isn't as good as it was before it got changed.
Yeah, all the hammers suck, don't they?
No, all the hammers suck really bad right now.
Yeah, great. Unlike what it used to be, if you remember. Yeah. I don't even know what to say about this item. It's just not... I almost want to put it in bad, but like...
No, you can still make use of it, potentially, but it's... I would never build this, personally.
Its passive is weak. I mean, I don't think anyone... I can't think of a single god that would go this. Outside of, like, Hasten per the mana. I don't know. Don't ever build this. It has very lackluster stats, like he said, and its passive's mid. It's cheap. That's about it. Shit.
Gem of ISO. I would
this
say that's
item,
niche.
bro.
I would say that's niche as well.
I remember.
Really I don't think on a lot of mages you'd really build this ever. The only one I can really think about is maybe
Alposh
or Zhang Kui, because they've got their one and Alposh's poison. Any ability that lasts a long time, it just is super slow on them.
Yeah, this is extremely niche on like most gods. You can build this on Jormungandr too for his pools.
Yeah,
but I will say, when they buy this item, it sucks. It sucks so bad.
It feels terrible. It feels terrible. I remember we went once against Alposh, and Alposh used this 3 on me, and like I went down like 250.
Just negative speed, bro. You're just walking at that point. So, like on specific gods, it's really fucking good. Like Alposh, Zhang, Yorm, a couple other gods. So, but don't really ever build this on most gods.
Unlike most of the mages,
Yeah.
you don't want to build this.
Genji's.
Yeah.
Yes.
S tier. Fantastic passive. Gives you lots of cooldown. 10% cooldown. Lots of that gives you I believe is it
I think
mana?
No, it gives you 40 MP5.
40, yeah, it gives you a shit ton of MP5 and 70 magical procs. Very, very good item.
Passive.
A lot of people build this.
Yeah, passive gives you even more cooldown. When you get hit by abilities, just automatically 3. I mean, just 3 seconds taken off your cooldowns, which is wild. It has a lot of fucking match. This item is pretty bloated. It's a selfish item, but if you're gonna build a selfish item for magical, this is it. Because like,
I mean, I see tanks building it.
Yeah.
I see like hybrids building it, especially hybrids building it.
Oh, definitely hybrids. Yeah. This is probably the best one in its tree.
Yeah, I would say
definitely. So. If there's ever a magic,
think about it. Actually, I'd say that's the most consistent tree. All 3 of the items in this
are pretty decent.
Are pretty good.
If you're ever thinking about like let's say they have magical, you're like getting destroyed by their mage and their guardian, for example. I mean, if you can't think of anything, you just go Genji's. I mean, that's fine. Genji's is good in almost every situation. So, Glad Shield.
This goes up to S.
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna put it in A for a second, but I was like,
this is definitely a core item on warriors for their damage.
Definitely warriors. Yeah, I will say though, guardians don't really ever build this.
No.
Except
when they
maybe
made it available to guardians, everyone was like, oh my god, now they have a damage. For some reason, you just don't feel you do enough damage as a guardian building this.
No, yeah.
It's weird building as a guardian. Warriors, though, it's like right up their alley.
Now that I'm thinking about it, should we put this in core? Because compared to Genji's is good on warriors and guardians all the time. Same with Emp Armor, same with...
Well, you said by specific class, because I mean, there's some like Aussie you would never build.
That's
on,
a good point. Yeah.
Assassins or warriors. I think it's specifically a 100.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, actually,
like the Genji's is
for
great
warriors.
on like Genji's and Thebes are like it's fantastic on hybrids and full tanks. Glad is mostly just for hybrids.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And also just warriors that are also potentially going full tank.
Yeah, so I guess for full context, yeah, guardians you don't really want to build this on, except maybe like a couple. Warriors, you know, I think on almost every single warrior that you play in ranked Joust. Glad Shield's there. Yeah.
King Arthur, if you decide to play that dog shit.
Yeah. Yeah. That fucking useless god. Golden
Blade, I would say it's niche.
Niche? Oh yeah, definitely. I'm thinking of Horus.
I would say it's niche because it's good on like 2 gods. Vamana and Horus.
Yeah. And on the
put in perspective, I almost always build this on Horus.
Yeah.
Almost always. Vamana, sometimes you can get away with not building it, but a lot of people do because you just get so much extra damage when you're like 1v3ing people. But other than that, everybody else, nobody else really gets good benefits out of Golden Blade, it's besides those 2.
Yeah, and even the guys that are bad, like Bakasura, that they're just bad, so it's just niche.
Yeah, I wouldn't build it on him either.
Yeah.
Unlike certain characters like Horus, it's like probably teetering on S for Horus and like A. It's most likely A for both him and Vamana, but for
every other
else,
god, it's just
that's why it's niche because it's only utilized by a few gods.
Griffonwing, S.
It's core.
Absolutely core.
Yeah.
You can build this first item into Aussie. You can build a second item after stacking item like Devos, or third item after Transcendence Aussie Griffonwing. Usually I like to build it first item because of the amount of MP5 that it gives with its tier 2, tier 1 too. It gives you, if people don't know this thing has 55 power. That's ridiculous for how cheap it is.
Also cheap.
It's so fucking cheap. And then its passive just lets you hit your autos as soon as you click your button, your auto button. It just automatically it's so much faster. So if you can't hit your autos as well, this is very good too. So I mean, this is There's something more you could want from this item. Build this early game at like max 3rd item, and even then I still
usually built 1st item.
1st, 2nd item, yeah. And especially on gods who have long range autos. If you're not, you're trolling. Then we have Hastened.
This is in the same spot as Golden Blade.
Yeah. Vamana?
Same thing. I would say Vamana, this is kind of core, to be honest.
Yeah.
I build this, I think, because Hastened is more important on Vamana than Golden Blade is.
Yeah.
But in terms of like Horus doesn't build Hastened Katana, I mean, the only other guys I can really think of is maybe Kali builds Hastened Katana.
But nobody's playing Kali. Jesus, don't.
No one's playing Kali. Bakasura.
Nobody's playing Baka though. Yeah, this item has dog shit stats. It's literally only its passive.
The only reason why it's niche is because Vamana is good, very good, and he's the only one that really utilizes it well.
Yeah. Hastened Ring has to be niche.
Yeah, niche because magical ADCs are dog. Although I will say that this is probably the best ring.
Yeah, this is the better of the rings.
Magical ADCs are kind of bad.
Yeah. This is specifically good on Freya too.
Yes, yeah, very good on Freya. Subpar power, excellent passive though.
Yeah, essentially hastens Katana, or yeah, just fall. It increases your speed. Yeah. Heartseeker. I remember we talked about this before. We don't like it as much, but
I think it is. I think it's core.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's core.
I think it's core because a lot of ability-based hunters use it. A lot of warriors, as their like 1 or 2 damage items, can utilize it. A lot of assassins put this in their build too. It's overall, it's used a lot. It's a lot. It's has a lot of utility in multiple avenues. So I think it deserves.
It's essentially it's not the same as Soul Reaver, obviously, but it's similar to Soul Reaver in that it does damage based on health. So this was really good against double tank meta, and still is against like this current meta, as it does have 65 power, 8 physical pen, and its passive. They buffed its passive a little while ago, which makes it a lot easier to get more damage scaled up, I think. It's one of those items where like round the 4th, 5th, usually 5th and 6th item, you're just automatically probably thinking about Heartseeker. And if you can't think of an item, then Heartseeker is probably your best bet. It's a very expensive item, but a very good one. So you can't think of an item last, just Heartseeker is always good on any team comp. And then let's see, we got Heart Ward.
I think this is core as well.
I was gonna say it is core. Yeah, I like this item a lot.
Say it gives your whole team MP5. It's phenomenal for having MP5. You get a shitload of protections. Like, I wouldn't build this alongside other magical items.
No, this would be your only.
Yeah, so like you wouldn't build this. It's kind of like you're either building Genji's or Amulet. Those are both phenomenal items. It's just if you're building more physical damage items, which it scales off of the one glyph on it.
Yeah.
Then like that's all the magical protections you need. You just build a bunch of physical prot items, like 3 of them, and then you build this one magical, and then you have as much magical as you want. You can get up to like 200 and I believe 20, which is insane. Yeah.
I will say that so Heart Ward is a better version of Genji's if you're trying to help your team, as it gives your teammates magical protections and you're almost always around them, so you're always giving it to them, and it gives them 30 MP5. Which means they never run out of mana.
And he gives them protections too.
Yeah, right. Protections. And then it doesn't have a lot of stats for yourself in terms of the regular one. It does give you a lot of magical protections. But later, once we talk about the glyphs, like he just said, this is one of the big reasons why you build this. Genji's is more, like we said, the selfish-ish type one. So if you're like, you don't need to worry about your team, then build Genji's. If you're like a Ganesh and that's your sole purpose, then build Heart Ward, obviously. Hydra's, I think it's great. Yeah,
I think it's great.
I don't think it's core though. Yeah,
gives you some cooldown, decent power. Its passive is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for.
Gives you MP5 and some penetration. Actually, it doesn't give you MP5 in your it is in your passive, but they changed it to mana.
Yeah, they changed the regular mana.
Fine though, because your passive gives you MP5 anyway. So it kind of gives you like everything you'd want. Plus, you have a bunch of power. You can just delete people if you have a bunch of power. Just extra damage in your autos after every ability.
Yeah. For context, though, You really don't ever want to build this on warriors. Obviously, I think for most people who understand that.
This is essentially an assassin item.
Yeah, it's essentially an assassin item, and then this does work on ability-based hunters like Uller, Marty. I think that's pretty much it.
I've seen some people with Chiron build it before.
Yeah, that's not as good.
Although I personally wouldn't.
This is staple. This is a staple for Uller and is really good on Marty. So, just generally a really good item. Jotens. Oh man, what is this item? Where do I want to?
I would say it's great. I wouldn't put it in core though. It's
yeah.
Core.
Yeah, this item. Yeah, this item is really only for assassins.
I view this as the physical equivalent as Chronos Pendant.
Yeah, you build this for hybrid assassins. Let's say you're playing Fenrir, and you build Gauntlet. After Gauntlet of Thebes, right, you just go into a Jotens for your cooldown, and that's all the cooldown you really need. After that, you can just build whatever.
Yeah.
So, good stats, mana, whatever.
If you're ever having a build that seems like you need cooldown,
early too,
and a little bit of power, this is just great to put in there, because sometimes as a tank, I've had like Gauntlet of Thebes, Embalmer, Amulet, and then maybe like something else, and then it's like, okay, I'm 4 items in and I have 0 cooldown, so I need something. So then this is just okay, just straight up 20, and then you get some pen and power, just good to supplement your builds with.
Yeah, especially now with the 2 backline team with the physical pen. Also, yeah, this is a go-to like first item in Conquest, where like if you build it, you always build it first, otherwise you're never building it. It's kind of different in Joust. I think there's like a stigma with people building Jotens last, or like a few items last, but I think it's fine in Joust.
I'd say it's fine to build like 4th, 5th, 6th item in Joust. I wouldn't really build this early though.
Well,
to be honest.
Well, I'd still
potentially on like, say if you're building like a hybrid, you go like Thebes into this.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're like a tank, then yeah, you build this later. If you're an assassin, you probably want this early, hybrid assassin, and you want this probably early. Last gasp.
I would say this is niche.
Yeah, I want this item to be good, man.
It's got a lot of good stats on it, but again, you can only utilize it on certain characters such as Aphrodite and Hell.
And those gods get banned, or at least Afro.
Those gods get banned, and even when they do make it through, most of the time they're built as tanks. So this is like your 1 damage item.
It's mind-boggling to me because I love this item. It's so cheap, 2,400, 15 flat pen, and 100 power, and you get
passive. You can get up to 190 power.
It's crazy to me. I don't understand. I feel like this is a busted item, man.
No, it is a busted item on paper.
On paper, but I don't think. Yeah,
not a lot of people utilize it. And then the gods that do get through, it's kind of like this is like your only 1 damage item, which is really good. But
there's just better items. Lotus Sickle.
I'd say decent.
Yeah, if you get Hell, this is probably one of your core items.
And Afro. You can use this on Guan too, although I prefer not to build it on Guan.
Yeah, I think there's other items. With Guan and tanks, you don't want to be squishy. Yeah. So you don't want to build like after another one after the other. Yeah, you're building this really only on a couple gods, but on those couple gods, they're like really good, like Hell and Afro. We got Magi's Cloak.
I would put it on decent.
Decent. I don't ever build this, which is weird.
It gives you good. It's really situational.
Yeah.
It's for like team, or you really can't afford to be. You need like a supplemental beads. Essentially, they buffed the protections on it a while ago. It's got decent protections. Not a lot of health though, so it doesn't make you too tanky. You still feel quite squishy with it.
Yeah.
But it's really just the passive, honestly.
That's what it is.
Seen that you can build this on Tanks don't usually build it, although you can put it on tanks if you really wanted to, just if you're annoyed with the CC or if you want to make a play without being CC'd away. This is most of the time built on full damage mages.
Yeah.
That just they can't afford to be CC
And
annihilated.
get one shot,
so, yeah. So they put a Magi's Cloak in. I wouldn't say it's great though, because you don't see it built all that often.
No.
If I see somebody building it, I'm like, okay. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's great because we're going to get the CC heavy team and this person's getting annihilated. They're trying to avoid it. I would not build this though anywhere else than like the 5th or 6th item though, because
Yeah.
I've seen people like they get annihilated by a CC team early or mid game, and then they build like 1 or 2 damage items. Sometimes they even build 1 damage item, and then if you're building this like 2nd or 3rd item, you have no damage potential. You're not scaling your damage. You're not being able to. You're just ruining your potential damage early and mid. Versus if you build this like 5th or 6th item, you already have like 4 to 5 damage items online, so you're already able to do things.
Yeah, and to back that, I'm trying to differentiate this from Conquest, because in Conquest it's like extremely good, and sometimes you want to build this early, but the difference between Conquest for people who are Conquesters and Joust is that in Joust it has a very long cooldown on its passive. So once you get CC'd, you have to wait 70 seconds for it to come back on. In Conquest, a lot of the times there are a bunch of skirmishes where it's good to have it, because you fight, people die, you do objectives, and rinse and repeat. In Joust, you're always near each other. So, for example,
so this gets procced very easily.
Yeah, we've been in a game where Mike has just gone in with Bacchus, is like, all right, I'm just gonna go in and just flop on him, and then I'm just gonna leave, or something like that, or with another god, I don't know. Ganesh is one of them.
Or one time I built it, and then Ganesh just came over and owned me, and then
it. And then it's just gone for essentially like 2 team fights if they really wanted to. So it's definitely not as good, because you can just proc it whenever. So Mail of Renewal, bad or niche?
I'd say it's niche. It's not horrible.
Yeah, nobody really.
Not horrible. It just got kind of subpar stats. The passive's okay.
Yeah, I think it's the passive is probably the saving grace, because
I just think that there's better items. I don't think it's an awful item. If I see somebody building this, as long as the rest of their build is fine, I'm not too upset.
Yeah. Because its base stats are actually horrendous, but because you get protections in its passive and stuff like that, and you get healing maximum shit, you can read it. It's also very cheap too, but nah, like you said, there's better items. We have Mana Core Spikes.
I would say it's decent.
Yeah, I was gonna say decent too. This used to be S tier.
Used to be S tier. They nerfed the passive on the damage on the passive.
Yeah.
But it's still good though, because so the thing between this and Fae Hoops, because they both are the 2 items in the game where when you apply DC and or heal, they drop hoops or spikes that you have to actively try and pick up. Now the hoops was mainly for your teammates for the most part, healing them, which is too much of a struggle for them when they're already trying to just leave to be able to pick it up. They're just picking it randomly without even noticing it. Now the spike, your teammates can pick it up, but then you yourself are more likely to pick it up, which is usually what you buy this item for. If you're heavy god like Horus, this is really good on. Bacchus is really good on. You do it on Ganesh, it procs a lot on. You get the point. Anything that's like very CC heavy that can proc a lot of spikes, generally the person who builds the item is the one getting the power spike, not your teammates for the most part. And also the passive reflects that too, because the person who creates the spike, if you pick it up yourself, the damage on the target afterwards with the next ability is actually increased. So plus you get good MP5, good protections, good health.
Yeah,
it's overall a pretty decent weapon. The only thing is, the reason why it's decent though is because it's it isn't applicable to every god. A lot of it's mostly allocated specifically towards tanks, and not every tank can utilize it well because they don't have like. You generally want to build this on characters that have 2 or their 3 non-ultimate abilities being able to proc it. So like Ganesh can proc it with 2 of his abilities, the Ohm and the 3. Nike can create multiple of them with the jump, with her 2 and her disarm at the end, so she can proc a 3 with all 3 of her abilities, which is crazy. Horus can proc it with his 2 and 1. Characters that you wouldn't really want to Bacchus you can do with the flop and in your 3, which is very good. Characters that you wouldn't really want to build this on, that can't really proc it too well, would be like Cuchulainn, doesn't really get good usage out of it. Guan Yu, Jing Chen. I've built it on Jing Chen a few times, but for the most part, you only proc it on his 2.
His 2, yeah.
And his ult, but his ult it's too much niche for people's ults. Neja, it's only on the 3.
Yeah, and even still, I feel like Mana Core, there's still other items that probably are better in that spot anyways.
Yeah, they're just better anyway. But it can be usable.
It's still decent.
I still pick it up sometimes on certain gods.
Yeah. Unlike this next item that no one buys.
Dude, it used to be built on everybody back in like season 8.
They nerfed it when it was already bad.
Yeah.
I don't know what they thought. It has does it have 55 protections now or even worse?
It's 55 of each. And then the passive is decent. It's just outshined by everything else.
Yeah.
And it's still, don't let the 55 protections fool you, because you also need health as well to be tanky.
Yeah. And also, why are you building this if you can just go into a Spirit Robe? Spirit Robe just gives you basically the same amount of stats plus damage mitigation.
Cooldown and crowd control.
And you get CCR. So.
And mitigation. Yeah.
And it's 500 gold cheaper. The fuck?
Yeah. This
is bad.
Expensive for no reason. Midgard, I think Midgard's decent.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would have been really. I think it would have been niche, maybe bad last season.
Yeah,
but because of hunters, literally that's it.
Use it a lot more for hunters. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. The constant. We were in a few games, or a few games ago. We were going up against a hunter. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, "Can you please go Midgard? This fucking hunter is killing me." I don't know if it was Hachi or something. I was like,
think it was probably Hachi.
I need you to go Midgard, man. And then he built it, and then I don't remember having a problem with him after that. I don't specifically remember the game, but Midgard, if you're having trouble against the ADC, especially ones that have long range autos, the passive that reduces it and stacks up to 3 times, I think. Yeah, having an ADC problem, you can go Midgard. It's more of a counter. So, and then this is the only first tier item, tier 1 that I'm gonna be talking about. I think this is called Mystical Earring.
This is Mystical Earring. This is the tier 1 for Fae Hoops.
Yeah.
For Griffonwing, for Manticores. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Why is there a tier 1 item here? And it's like, well, because it costs 400 gold, which is extremely cheap, and it gives you 15 MP5. 15 MP5 is nothing to scoff at. There are a lot of builds, especially for tanks. You don't ever want to build this really on mage, because mages have plenty of MP5.
No.
You build this specifically just to fix any mana problems you have, because and it's also cheap. Sometimes where I'm building tank and I'm building Gauntlet of Thebes, Amp Armor, maybe Midgardian Mail, etc., etc.
No MP5.
We're getting to like level 12 and you don't have any mana sustain at all. Sometimes even assassins have this issue as well.
Yeah, I built this on hybrid assassins too.
Yeah, hybrid assassins. It's just good. It's so cheap. It's just something where you buy it, and then the moment that you get later on, you just build it to supplement your build.
Yeah.
Initially, so you can keep in the fight, so you can have mana regen. The moment you get like a Genji's Guard online, or you get Heartseeker online, or anything else that gives you MP5 later on in the game, you sell it and just buy something else.
It just gives so much MP5. I guarantee you, like most of you who are at this point or whatever, you're always running out of mana at the beginning of the game, because whenever I would build this item as I'm playing a tank, and like he said, build like 3 items in with no MP5, the game sucked. I couldn't play the game. I used my abilities like twice.
You'd use like all your abilities. You use like your 1, 2, 3. There's one combo on somebody, then
you have like barely any mana. Yeah,
you have less than half.
It sucks so bad. So if you're having mana problems and you're a tank, Some examples like Neja, you almost always want to build this on. I feel like, because you have no mana sustain. But yeah, most gods, most tank-ish gods, hybrid too. Just build this, get MP5, and you're good for like half of the game. Mystical Mail.
I think it's decent.
Decent?
Oh, really?
Decent.
I think
Damn.
it's okay. Yeah, I think it's all right.
I was gonna put it in. No, I didn't actually put it. I wasn't actually gonna put it in. I was gonna put it in niche, but I was.
No,
I feel like.
I think it's decent. It doesn't have the best base stats. It's got good health.
Where are you building this on?
Physical protections.
Besides Kukulkan.
Kukulkan, you can build it on. You can kill the. You mostly build this on warriors for this for the most part. But even just because it's decent doesn't mean I would necessarily build it though. To be honest, I build it once in a while. Just because why not?
It's usually like a fun type of item.
More of a fun type of item, but it can have some utility. It's good for clearing the wave. It's good for just getting passive. You'd be surprised because if you're just standing near people for a while, you check the damage. That's like, wait a minute, my mystical mail just did like 400 damage to this man.
Yeah, definitely can stack up. I only put it in niche because my thought process is just that there's just, why would you build this item when this item exists, type thing.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it decent. It's fine.
I'd say like mystical mail is like the weaker, younger, more emaciated version of Glad Shield.
Yeah. Yeah, Glad Shield's just better. Obshard.
I think this goes in I think it goes in decent.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in decent. I don't think it fits anywhere else.
It's very similar. I think Chiron's coin is better, but I don't think they're too far apart. I think they're like very
similar
close to one another.
I think
in terms of stats, in terms of usage and everything.
I think there are better gods that use these items. For example, I think Baba, absolutely, you go Charon's. And for example, Scylla, you'd probably go Obshard. So but for the most part, they're fine. They're fine items. Just I don't know why you would go them when there's other items we haven't talked about yet. But Doomore, for example, is I think better. But you're not trolling if you buy these items. Obviously, build them later in the game. But Oboe, that has to be great. I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think
it got nerfed. It got nerfed a lot. It's not the best as it used to be, but in conjunction with the current meta hunter builds,
yeah,
very good.
I also think this being here as a consequence is a consequence to crit, and just shows you that since crit is gone, that the fact that Oboe is a great item, I feel like shows you how weak hunter builds have gotten.
Yeah.
Obviously it's different in Joust. Joust is different because of literally the map makes them better. But yeah, Oboe just helps you do more damage. I think it has good attack speed, but you're really looking at for its passive, extra clear, extra just damage. You pair this with like Kins, with already applied Executioner's passive. I mean, you're hitting 250, 300 with all that combined per auto. So
yeah, definitely
a later build, later item that you want to build.
Yeah, you want to get your damage online first for it to scale off of.
Yeah, so definitely later. But very good. Onis.
I put this in great.
Yeah. You've had a rocky relationship with this item.
Yeah, it's because they nerfed the mitigation passive on it.
Yeah.
I still think it's pretty decent. I would this is like the tankier version of Genji's. It has slightly less protections, but the passive, and it doesn't have any cooldown. You still get the MP5 from it that you need from it. It fulfills that goal for Genji's. But it has a mitigation passive instead of the cooldown. I personally think Genji's is a little bit better though, because I actually kind of slightly more MP5, and then I kind of prefer the cooldown and slightly more MP5 over the mitigation passive. Also, because the mitigation passive is only when you're going balls deep and you're next to all three of them.
Yeah, Genji's in Joust, MP5 and cooldown, I think trumps most of everything else.
Trumps mitigation. For the most part.
I mean, I remember I'm doing another Joust tutorial, the same exact thing from last tutorial. I'm putting in like around like the third, 4th, 5th item, you need to have cooldown and MP5, otherwise you're not going to be able to do a lot of stuff. So but yeah, no, back to Oni's. Yeah, like he says, tankier. It also has crowd control reduction too, 20%, which also helps. So yeah, usually if you're getting, I don't really know when you would build this more than Genji's. I just feel like Genji's is just better in every situation.
No, Genji's is better for the most part, but even one of those things where like Genji's is like, these are two brothers playing on the same football team, and it's like Genji's is like the fucking guy, the brother that's winning all the awards and stuff.
Yeah.
So he just gets outshined, but
it's still good though. Yeah.
But Oni's is still like a top player too. He's just not in the newspaper.
Right. Yeah.
Still very good though. So good item. Sometimes I build this over Genji's. It really depends if I already have cooldown.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to be tankier from the mitigation stacks, and if I'm playing a character that's like close to the enemy all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Overall,
comparable. I think Genji is slightly better though.
Yeah. On to Pestilence. Where is Contagion?
I think it's decent.
Oh yeah, we put it in decent.
I think
it's decent. Yeah, but like you said, it's a worse version of.
It's a worse for. It's not as good as Contagion, although good. It has good protections, like 80 magical protections. Passive is obviously anti-heal. It has another passive too, but it's not as good as Contagions. Kind of like overlooked half the time. You mainly buy this for the tankiness and the passive for the anti-heal. But for the most part, I would prefer if people just build Contagion along with an amulet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at Pestilence right now. Its passive gives you even more healing reduction, which I know.
Yeah.
It stacks up to 6 times, so you get at maximum 30, so 55% healing reduced. That's good.
That's good. But like that's in contingent on them hitting you.
Yeah, and it only lasts 3 seconds, which is actually a lot of time in Smite terms, but you're also getting anti-heal from your other, ideally from like your mage with his divine, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think you're healing that much anyways.
Plus this item, again, deceptively gives you a lot of, don't get me wrong, gives you 80 prots, but it doesn't give you any sustain for MP5.
Yeah.
So a lot of times like this item does not give you MP5, and then you're not tanky either, because you don't get health. I think Amulet is kind of like just a better version of Pestilence. Obviously you build Pestilence for the anti-heal, but in terms of prots, Amulet's better, and then you get more tanky anyway, because Amulet gives you health along with the power, which makes you overall more tanky, and then it even gives you MP5 too. So
yeah,
the only benefit to Pestilence over Amulet would be the anti-heal effect, but there's other anti-heal items that are better than it.
Yeah, the worst version of Contagion. Links. Interesting item. Where do you think you want to put it?
I think it's great. I don't think it's S though.
No, it's definitely not S. This is a slept on item, I think. You can go over it more because
it's got phenomenal base stats, 60 physical prots, gives you HP 5, I believe. I think it gives you crowd control, right? As well.
10%.
10% crowd control, but that's kind of just like a throw-in ability.
Yeah.
So on the fly, it's already pretty decent. Now, here's the thing: it gives you every single time someone autos attacks you, you get 7 of each prot and then 10% attack speed up to stacks of 3 times. So when you're fully stacked up, which is very easy to, especially since there's hunters on the enemy team, this is kind of like an anti-hunter item, because you're going to get 81 physical prots, 21 magical prots, and 30% attack speed. Those are some bloated stats.
Yeah.
On their own. Not to mention that this also has an effect on your minion wave as well. Not that I honestly don't really. I build it for the former.
It's just additive.
For reason. That's just kind of an additive that it affects your minion wave.
It's still good.
Well, so your minion wave is going to do 60% more attack speed if you're standing near them and you get auto attack 3 times, which is kind of crazy.
It is. You can siege towers a lot too. I want to see this item built more. I want to see like the interactions that it has.
You usually build this on Vimana a lot. You build this on Bologna, Ama, any type of auto attack warrior essentially.
Gilgamesh too.
Gilgamesh can build it.
Yeah, this item, I think, if we were in like a
Osiris is very good on.
yeah, if we were in those type of metas where those gods were like really good, peak.
Oh, this would be.
Oh, this would be S. Oh my god, this would be disgusting.
Yeah, this would be disgusting.
The
reason why it's not S though is core is because again, you don't really want to build this on characters that don't utilize auto attack, and then usually the auto attack warriors, they're not necessarily bad. They're not really bad right now, but like they're not that good either. So.
Yeah.
But if you are gonna go them, then you definitely want this on your. Definitely want to build this.
Yeah. Also, one thing they didn't mention. This only costs 2,200 gold.
Yeah, it's very.
This
cheap.
is only 200 more than Canoneers. This is one of the cheapest items, which is also crazy. You can just get all these stats technically. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some testing. I wanna make a video where one of us or both of us plays with this item, because I think this would be a good video to show off. Just and also just to experiment.
I mean, I've been building it on characters before. Even in Vamana, you can build Berserkers, Phalanx, and then just Amulet. You get all the protections you need, and then the rest you can go damage if you really wanted to. Or you can, if you really wanted to get tankier, you could build one more tank item, then the rest 2 damage, as in like Hastened or Golden Blade or something. And it's just so good. You can get the max attack speed very easily with not even having to build full attack speed.
Yeah. All right, on to Poly.
I think Poly's decent.
Decent. What to say? You build this on certain gods, like Scylla.
You can build this on Cuckoo Khan. You can build this on Scylla. Baron Samdi utilizes it well. Chiron, not Chiron. Chronos is one of the biggest users of this.
One of the best ones.
Shred objectives with it.
You can build this on Soul too.
Build it on Soul, although I would prefer not to, but you can if you want to.
The problem with this item though is, I think it's always been a problem. It's sort of a riskier item with most of the gods outside of Chronos. I think Chronos, this is a staple for him. Other gods like Scylla, for example, you're risking, if you miss your auto, then you're just missing a whole part of an item, essentially, because its base stats are kind of mediocre compared to other items that you could build in its place. So it's definitely a fun item, and you can definitely one-shot people, but it is a risky item, which is probably why it's in just B tier, decent. There's other items like Soul Reaper you would just build instead of this. So it's cheap though, and it's fun, so it's indecent. Our boy, God, I still love this item.
This goes to decent, I think.
Really?
This used to be a disgusting item.
It used to be S.
This used to be S back in season 9.
It's been castrated.
Yeah, there's just better items now. You build this mostly just to have just a pad stat. You build this for the cooldown, obviously, and then you build this if you want a little bit of each protection. The passive is okay. They nerfed the passive a while ago.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. It's okay.
A little bit of damage.
But like, there's just better items for the most part. It's not terrible. I haven't built it in a long time. When I do build it, I don't feel terrible, but I also would rather build other items other than this.
Yeah, personally, I was thinking about putting it in niche, just because nobody buys it, and also there are better items. But I like the item, so I'm okay with putting it in decent.
I also love Pridwin. I don't.
It's such a fun item.
It's just fun. I like it.
And then we have the bad boy himself.
I would personally say it's great. I won't think it's S core.
I think it's core. I only think it's core because so I'm putting it in core. I think we were talking about this, or we talked about this when we put Gauntlet up here. The difference between Prophetic and Gauntlet is 2 things before I explain why I think Prophetic is still S. Gauntlet is the type. I'm gonna just quickly do it. Gauntlet is essentially a worse version of Prophetic in terms of when they're fully stacked. But Gauntlet, you get the stacks a lot easier and a lot quicker than you do Prophetic. Because in Prophetic you have to get damage, and it's on like a 10-second cooldown or something.
You also need to be able to hit the person
with the corresponding. Yeah.
Prophetic, though, it's a lot harder to stack up, because not only do you have to, the method of stacking it up is harder because you need to hit the person with the corresponding damage type multiple times, but there's certain gods where it's just harder to be able to actually hit the person. They don't have, like, certain gods that don't have like long range abilities, or characters that you're forced to get up real close and auto them in order to get your stacks. It also depends on who you're going up against as well, because if you're the only sole physical character on their team is a hunter, or say vice versa is a mage, a squishy that doesn't really want you near them at any time, then good luck getting your stacks. The only time I would say that in that scenario where it's very easy for you to get your stacks is if you're building a character where it's easy to proc those stacks, such as Neja has a very easy time stacking this item because the ring toss, very easy to proc. Atlas, very easy to proc because his astrolabe, you can throw it out and hit everybody as many times as you want. Bacchus, you can flop on people fairly easy. You get the point. There's some characters though, like I would never build this on Kabrakan.
It's
every one of Kabrakan's abilities, you have to get up super close, and the moment you run up to them, they're just gonna run away or just dogpile on you. There's some guardians and warriors where this just never gets stacked up. So it's a fucking amazing item, but it's situational in what god are you playing and what gods are they playing. If they have a warrior guardian, perfect. You can build this on anybody.
Yeah.
If they have a warrior guardian team comp, then you build this on like anybody that you would want to build this on. Now, if they've got like a hunter or a mage as their sole type of damage for that type of damage type, you could still build this on like Atlas or anybody else, like I said before, Neja, because you can still get those stacks fairly easily. But if they have that team comp and you're playing like a Kabrakan or someone else, then good luck getting those stacks. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Now the reason that I want to keep it up there, even though that we're there's two things that are going against it. One thing is that games are even quicker now because of spooling. That's also a factor. And then also, I just had a brain. But this thing has a bunch of stats. So when this item, when you put this on gods that can get the stacks a lot easier, like you said, Atlas, and that, it's so much better than Gauntlet.
No, it's better than Gauntlet. When they're both stacked up, it's objectively better than Gauntlet of Thebes.
Yeah,
but if you have to look at again, you can't just build this in any game.
Right.
You have to look at the types of gods that they're playing, and you need to analyze if your god is going to be able to get your stacks online. If not, do not build Prophetic. I would rather build Gauntlet of Thebes over in that type of scenario.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm keeping it, I want to keep it in S at least. We can put it down if we really want to. Is that so? If I'm playing Fenrir or whatever, I'm going Gauntlet. I'm never gonna get consistent stacks. If I'm playing Set, I'm always going Prophetic. With your one, you can just do whatever you want.
Same thing with Neja, you're always gonna go Prophetic.
But the problem, I think the thing is that Prophetic gives you a bunch of pretty decent stats right off the bat instead of Gauntlet. And it gives you cooldown, and it gives you 25 of each protection. The health is whatever, it's negligent in my opinion. I still think the base stats on Prophetic, plus the ability for a large portion of the god pool to get Prophetic Cloak stacked online relatively easy. I still think it's S. But obviously, like, everyone just pay attention to like what he said earlier, the difference, and that's literally the two differences.
This is one of those items where it's one of the best items in the game, but you do not build it every single game.
No.
You have to look at who you're playing and who you're playing up against to see if you feel confident enough that you'll be able to get the stacks online.
Yeah.
Now, even if you don't get the stacks online, it's still a decent one. Even if it's halfway stacked, it's still decent.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as other items when it's not stacked up all the way.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, you get 2 stacks per, or 2 protections per stack, so yeah, even halfway stack. But Fuck this item. What is this item called again?
Pythags.
Yeah, Pythags.
I think it's. I was gonna say decent, but.
Well, what do you think?
Because you do heal up because you give your teammates power and a little bit of life steal. This is more so. This isn't really a mage item. You don't normally build mages. You build this on like hybrid tanks.
Cthulhu.
You build this maybe on Cthulhu, Jormungandr, Cerberus. Makes you a little bit tanky because gives you health, it gives you cooldown, gives decent a little bit of power, not a lot, but it's mostly giving yourself a decent, okay base stat, and then helping your team, giving them a little bit of life power. Not the craziest thing. I don't think it's that bad though. Again, don't build this on mages. Go full power. I sometimes like Aether or Anubis' build this. It's not the worst item, but it's better items for them as well than this.
Yeah.
I would say it's decent though.
I'm okay with that.
I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's bad either. The only reason I'd say it's niche is because on the gods that it's good on, I think aren't necessarily the best.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with decent. I like the item.
Pins go right
pins,
up
yeah.
Right up the fucking board.
If you're playing an auto-based god, you're never not picking this up. So
yeah, doing an auto attack warriors and all hunters are built right now.
Yeah. Kins,
like a few ability based.
Yeah, because there's a few of them. And even still, you can still make an argument for to build that because of how disgusting this item is.
9% of someone's HP every auto attack.
It means 6%.
Still disgusting.
Yeah, still they buffed it before, nobody was buying it, and then even now it's one of those items where it's not like a thing that everyone's like, oh my god, we need to nerf Kins, It's still a busted item. It's so busted, nobody's talking about it, I guess. I don't know, that's all I'm trying to say. But this item, always want to put in your build. I think right around like the 4th item after you buy Xe, because it is a relatively, it's not cheap.
It scales off of people's levels, essentially.
Yeah, it scales off of levels.
It scales off the health, but then the health scales off the levels.
Yeah.
In the items that they're going to be building, so you want to wait until they actually have the health to benefit from them, benefit the most from Kins.
Yeah. And then I think with the 9.5 or something, they made it to where everyone in the game has just base more health, so that just makes Kins better. And then also, this item isn't cheap. It's not the most expensive, but it's pretty expensive. So you want to get like your semi-cheap items online first, like Xe, Aussie, or whatever path you're going, and then you go Kins, right? Yeah, Griffonwing, and then like 4th item. I think 4th item is the best spot for Kins. No sooner, no later, preferably. So always build this. So good. Okay. This shouldn't be here.
Oh wait, the
unevolved version.
The unevolved version. Wait, that's way better.
That's way better. That's S. Everyone builds that.
Okay.
Rejuvenating heart.
Never.
Okay. Yeah. It's
just blah. It's just not good.
It has really bad power. The passive, it's like 6%.
Gives you more healing. It makes it to where you do more healing to other people.
Yeah, it stacks up to 8, I think. So you get 48%. But that's, you're hitting a guy with basic attacks, or abilities or whatever. What god are you putting this on where you're actually gonna get that amount?
I built this on Afro. It might be the only one.
Yeah, but everyone bans Afro, and then also, I don't know. With the amount of anti-heal in this game, it's just never worth it. I don't feel like it's like a worse version of Last Gasp. Yeah, no, please don't buy this item. Not that anyone does, anyways. Is Relic Dagger in Joust?
Yeah, you can build Relic Dagger.
Okay.
I believe. Don't really see people building it often. This is like an S in Conquest. I would say it's very good on supports.
Is this never or niche?
I think it's pretty good, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, because if you're building like a full on tank, no damage support, I think this is like really good on Ganesh, maybe even Bacchus, because if you're able to use your relics a lot more, you're being like a true support towards like your 2 squishies. Be very good.
Yeah, you can have your
relics. I just think that you want to pad stats a little bit more. So generally, this doesn't get built too often.
This gives you no stats, basically.
Yeah, I'm okay with putting in niche though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terrible.
Not terrible. Ass claps, Rod of Ass claps.
Not horrible. Again, it's kind of similar. I'd say it's niche.
Yeah, I'll say niche. It's similar to did we not put it in here? Oh, Cad Club.
Cad Club. I think it's slightly worse than Cad Club.
Let me look at this again because I don't know this item. Rod. Yeah, no, yeah.
Increases your healing.
Yeah, Cad Club gives you more utility. You have to be within 30 units for this aura to give you 10% increased cooldown.
You have to think about the gods who are using it. Cad Club is more easily accessible to like Guan Yu and Horus and all them. Rod of Asclepius. You build it on Baron. Like
maybe
Sylvanas. But like at that point, like Hell and Afro obviously raw, but like why would you build it on them as opposed to other things that you
Rod up to Hootie goes right to S.
Yep, straight up to S. I don't think there's really much of an explanation. Shit ton of power. It's very expensive, but it's a shit ton of power.
Magical pen.
Not the best glyphs in the world, which we'll get to later, but
you don't even need that.
Even on its own, you don't even need the glyph. It's just the passives where it's all about.
Disgusting.
You get MP5, you get the pen. Passives, you're just doing extra damage to people who are below 60% HP.
Yeah, which is very easy. Runeforge, never
build it. Nope.
Dog shit.
At one point in time it had a
S,
but no, not anymore.
Stats are mid after they nerfed it, and then
Hyros has a tendency to try to make it to where they want deployables to be a thing for you to stay put in a deployable area, like Spartan Flag and now Forge Hammer, and it just things are constantly changing, and people have so many movement abilities, and you're never gonna fight inside these circles. It's never gonna get any good use out of it.
Yeah.
The only person I tested this out, the only one that I can really think of that actually utilizes Runeforge fairly well is Horus, because this will proc on the 2. And then you can auto attack and then get the 1 off. So you actually fairly consistently get the Runeforge passive off every single time you attack somebody with Horus.
Yeah.
And also the cooldown on the Runeforge passive, it lines up with Horus's 2 and 1 as well. So it pretty much makes it to where Horus's abilities just have increased damage. That's the only god though that I can think of that you would use this on. But even then, I don't really build it on him either.
Yeah, it's just mid. Less than mid actually. It's bad. And then we have Sekhmet's Scepter. Great?
I think it's decent. I
don't think it's I think I like the item.
I like the item as well. It's not as when we were building it, we were kind of chalking it up to be like way better than it actually was. We thought it was like really sick.
Specifically on Guan, yeah.
Yeah, specifically on Guan, but Guan already had like cooldown in his 1. I mean, it's really good on Guan. It can be good on Mulan as well because of her 2.
Yeah, gods like Herc, whatever.
Yeah,
so
Herc as well. It's okay.
I think it's good. It's not the best though. It's all right. So rated, that's probably great.
I think it's great.
I mean,
the movement speed, you get plenty of penetration.
Talk about padding stats, dude. How many stats that shit has, bro?
Lots of crazy stats on that.
This is obviously like a staple in Fenrir. So most of the gods that you're probably gonna put this on are assassins. Usually later in the game.
Auto attack warriors, mostly assassins though.
Yeah. I mean, it has lifesteal, more lifesteal, physical power, even more physical power, 16% physical penetration. That's wild. And then it has movement speed, just to have, and it's relatively cheap for all those stats. So I think if you're ever just like, oh, I don't know what to build here as a hybrid assassin, just pick up Serrated. I love it. Shadow Drinker. God, I forgot about this item.
I actually compare it a lot to Serrated. I actually think it's decent.
You think it's decent?
Yeah, I think it's decent. I'm watching a little bit of SBL. Well, this is obviously Conquest, but even if you just look at the base stats alone, 50 power is nothing to scoff at. Plus, it gives you pen. 50 power pen.
Yeah, that's
like,
the pen.
You can compare this to Brawlers. It has slightly less power and slightly less pen than Brawlers. So it's like a little bit of a lesser Brawlers Beatstick essentially. But then obviously you get movement speed, which is very good. And then the passive is probably the worst part of it, though. To be honest, it's very
Gimmicky.
Extremely niche. Because most of the time when you get a kill, usually because you reveal yourself the moment that you hit anything. So a lot of times, like once you get the kill, you're still going to be attacking, or you'll accidentally hit something, and then passive is basically wasted essentially.
Yeah.
And also, I'm pretty sure it disappears as well if you get hit as well. So most of the time in Joust, you're getting hit after you get a kill. And then even in Joust, when you're getting that kill, like there's not really much of an incentive to go invisible in Joust.
Yeah.
So the passive on it's not really that great, but I'd say the stats are pretty good. Similar to Serrated in a sense, if you want the flat pen equivalent to Serrated.
Yeah. It's definitely the physical penetration and a little bit of power, or a decent amount of power.
It's mostly the base stats. You get this for the movement speed, power, and flat pen.
And it's cheap.
It's cheap. The passive is kind of negligible, though. You don't really build this for the passive.
Yeah. Personally, I would put it in niche, but I'm fine with decent because I think it's the pen that really drives it. Shoguns has to be great.
Yeah, I think it's great.
It's better
Good
than
MP5,
Oni's.
not the best. Like you get
decent.
You get survivable MP5. You can run out of MP5 pretty quick if you think that this is the only thing that you can build with MP5.
Yeah.
But you just have to play around it a little bit. Like Genjis and Onis, you never have to worry about your MP5. This one, you get your MP5 back, but it's whatever. It's mostly you get 30% attack speed, just flat out. That's great.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you're in a hunter-centric meta, so this is going to help out your ADC very well.
Can always build it, yeah.
Yeah, got cooldown on it, 10% cooldown. You've got decent protections, a little bit of health. Overall, really good item.
Probably one, yeah, like you said, this one of the strongest trees.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Genjis, Shoguns, and Onis. You can honestly make an argument for each one of them. They all do very similar things. They all give you mana sustain. They all give you tankiness in the magical department. And then it really just depends on what your need is. Do you want more cooldown? Shoguns has a little bit of cooldown as well. Same amount as Genji's, only it doesn't have the passive. But do you want to have more attack speed for yourself and others? Or do you want to be super tanky for mitigations? It all depends on what the meta is kind of calling for, or what the game is calling for.
Yeah. I agree. Silver Branch. What do you think about that? Really?
Yeah, dog shit.
Really? I was gonna put this in decent.
Really?
Now, hear me out. In Joust, Conquest, you never want to build this.
You already know me. I fucking hate this item.
In Joust, seeing as most hunters are good now, the gods like Rama, Izanami, any god who has a stim,
attack speed stim, can utilize it well.
I think you can buy this last item because I don't know if a lot of you know about its stats. Its stats are really good, I think, except for the physical power. Physical power is mid, 30% attack speed, and you get 8 physical pen. There's not a lot there, but the 30% attack speed plus your stim, plus all of your other auto attack items like Kins, Aussie, Exy, Griffonwing, whatever. You can definitely, if you have a stim, can definitely get up and get more power. Obviously, I think you build this never on gods like who don't have a stim.
Yeah, and there's not that many characters that do have stims. To say, because Rama's not really the best pick right now. Izanami's not the best pick right now.
Izanami's not the best. I think Rama's a pretty standard pick, like A.
But like a lot of the top picks aren't stim-based gods.
Yeah, I'll put it down in niche. I like the item just because of its base stats. I always like the base stats of the item. But I think the stim, gods who have stims definitely have it. I feel like there's more than just 2 gods with stims.
Well, there's more. Chernobog has a stim.
Yeah, he's not that good though.
Apollo has his.
Yeah, he's not that good either.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that
yeah,
a lot of the
I'm fine with.
Are not very good.
I think the only one that's really is probably Rama.
Yeah. Even then, he doesn't really have the best stim of them all either.
All right. We can put it in never, but
No, it's fine putting in niche.
I like the item. I don't care about what anyone says. Soul Eater. I like this item.
I fucking love Soul Eater.
I think it's great.
I think it's great as well. I don't think it's quite S here because you don't really want everybody, but you build this on. You can build this on assassins very well.
That's
For
that.
examples would be Cleona, Lancelot utilizes this pretty well. You can even build this on Thor if you wanted to, although I don't usually, but sometimes you build it on him.
You can.
You can build this on character like warriors as well, like Mulan. This is a staple on Mulan, especially with her too. Some Wukong, although some Wukong doesn't really get played too often, but Mulan's a better example. I've seen people on Kukulkan build Soul Eater. Not the best build around, but you can make it work.
Build this on Marty too.
You can build on Marty. Marty's very good. It's literally works extremely well with his passive.
I think it's a really good item, a really great item actually. It's specifically for its fucking physical pen. It has pen now.
Really cheap. It's like 2,100 gold.
Yeah.
Has pen. It gives you 50 power by the time it's all stacked up. Which, by the way, it's very easy to stack up. It's actually deceptively easier to stack up because it's not just
passive.
your. Yeah, it's because when anything dies.
Anything. Yeah.
So it's like a whole wave is your minions plus their minions.
Yeah, I like the item.
Great.
Soul Gem. I'm curious what you think.
I think it's niche.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say decent. I'm fine with niche too, because I don't think it's a good item. Really.
Underwhelming power.
They nerfed it, right?
Yeah,
and then also with the healing update too, made it just innately worse.
It's got underwhelming power. The lifesteal stat. Lifesteal's just worse overall. That's what really killed it, I think, is the lifesteal changes.
Used to be a staple, not anymore. I don't think.
Staple, not anymore. It's not very
you
good.
can maybe get away with this with Agni, but I still don't think you really want to put it on them.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Soul Reaver, all the way to this.
I love Soul Reaver. I don't think it's quite S though.
Really?
Usually build this on all mages. For the
I
most
always
part.
build this on all mages, every single mage.
I was gonna say this is usually an S for everybody. Conquest, for every game mode.
Yeah.
The main reason why I was saying to put it down slightly was just because the fact that you're not really running into double tank anymore. This used to be so good at shredding double tank. We don't really see it too often. But even if it's one tank, it's even against squishies, it's
squishies because it's similar to the update with the 9.5, I think, where they made everyone's health more. So like you're still doing like an extra 80 damage.
I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, I initially wanted to put this in S as well, but then I was like, wait a minute. Hold on, your bias is showing. just because it's not as good as it was in tank meta doesn't mean that it's like
it just goes down. Because like this item still.
I would agree. It's fine. I love Soul. I love Soul Reaver.
Yeah, Soul Reaver is like your fourth, fifth item, usually fourth. Sov. I don't like this item.
It's still fine. It got nerfed quite a bit, but it's fine. It's decent. Build this to make you and your teammates tankier, especially with the health. About it.
Yeah, that's literally about it. You can't tank. You can't tank with this anymore. You used to build this for tanking towers. You never die, similar to Emp. It was kind of like a teeter battle with that and Emp, but not anymore. You can't do anything with towers except with Emp. I just think there are better items.
There's better items. It's not horrible though.
It's not horrible.
Yeah.
Then.
Oh, S tier.
What do you mean? This thing sucks. No, this thing. Oh my! It's your go. Yeah. It used to be your go-to back in last map. It still pretty much is.
I'm noticing. Like, look at the items. This is literally the build right here. You got Chronos Pendant, Divine, Deso.
Soul Reaver, Rod.
Soul Reaver, Rod, and then what would be the next? The last item would be like Pen. Not in this order, obviously, but like like Pen. You probably put like an Op Shard or Chiron's coin somewhere in there, just
or even Mirrodin. Mirrodin, I think, is an underrated item right now too.
You only get 20% pen at that point, or rather, 16% total. But
yeah,
granted, you're going to be getting squishies most of the time. Plus, Soul Reaver acts as a very good, just beating up tanks in general without penetration. Soul Reaver's great.
Yeah.
Spear of Deso though.
Yeah, Spear of Deso. This thing's so cheap. I don't know why they reduced its cost.
You a shit ton of power.
Flat pen was what you need.
And then a disgusting passive
Even
as well.
more cooldown.
Ball during a fight.
So if you're not picking this up, you're trolling. And this is also one thing I said about mage builds. I don't know if I've actually said it in a video, but mage builds are pretty like linear. Like there's not really a lot of.
They're pretty cookie cutter, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
variation.
Like 1 or 2 difference. I mean, literally, like I said, like look at it. You have five mage items that are in S tier, which means that you're always building these 5 items.
Yeah.
Essentially, there's maybe like room for like 1 or 2 divergences.
Yeah. And then we have
Fear the Magus.
I think it's great. I think it's great. It used to be core.
It used to be core. They nerfed the passive though.
Like in fuck half, the passive. Yeah.
5%. Still though, great power. Has some lifesteal, which okay. Just
why not?
Why not?
And some percent pen.
Some penetration, and then the passive is deep.
It's all right. I mean, you usually can exchange this or just add it with the Rod of Tahuti. You don't have to go with this item. If you're building gods like Chronos, I really like this on Chronos as it gives a little bit of attack speed with Poly. Plus, it's passive.
I feel like it's very good on Chang'e as well.
Chang'e's definitely.
Since Chang'e's ult has the same type of passive.
Yeah. Winter passive, and then you just delete. It deletes with this. So certain gods you really want to go this on. Also, like Soul would be a good god to put this on. All around, like a very good item though. If you ever wanted to go it, just, why not? Just percent pen, just whatever you want and need, basically. And then spectral armor.
I think it's A.
Yeah. This is a very situational item, but its passive is so fucking good if anyone builds crit.
Here's the thing, the passive is, this has happened a few times where I see somebody building crit. Well, here's the thing, if you're ever going against someone who's building crit, this is just stomps them out. This is really good. Helps you and your team with crit builds. But there's even times where I have built this against someone building in the crit, and they saw I built spectrals, and they got rid of their crit and just build normally.
Yep.
And I kept the spectral, and it's like, this still has really good base stats. It has a shit ton of mana. Makes you tanky. It's got plenty of physical defense. It's really good base stats even without the passive. The passive is obviously like the bread and butter. You build this. You don't ever build this really outside of when someone's building crit or characters that have built-in crit in their system.
Yeah. They build crit, build this item, please, for the love of God. Baubles, absolutely boring, dog water, doo-doo. This was a fun item though.
This was back when it had 20% cap.
Now it's 50.
Additional. Now it's just an extra 10%.
And then you get reduced your protections
and healing.
And your healing, which was a weird thing to add. Although not really now that I think about it, but still, it's no. It costs so much too. It's 2,600, I think, almost. No, if you're building this, I hate you.
No, it's just bad. It's one of the worst items in the game.
Yeah. Why can't I think of this item? I love this item. Spirit Robe. A.
I would argue it's either A or core, one or the other.
I want to put it in core, but sometimes I don't go this.
Yeah, sometimes I don't build it either, but it is like I guess it's like means it's great then, because
yeah,
one of those supplemental items. It's not necessarily you're always going to build it on characters, but it's like
you can always build it though.
Yeah, you can always build it.
This is another one of those items where you're just like, I don't know what to build. I'm running out of ideas, but I need more protections. Oh,
maybe a little bit of cooldown. Oh,
yeah, Spirit Robe. Nice, cool. Yeah, why not? It's a very good item. Love it. Mirrodin.
I think that this item is I personally love this item.
I fucking love this item too. It's so much fun.
I think it really should be indecent though.
Yeah, I want to put it in great, but there's only a few gods.
In pen, and then its passive is really good too on paper.
Yeah, I'm buying.
Very good on certain characters. It's very good on Baron.
Yeah, it's also I'd like this on Yanis too, but Yanis isn't really good in Joust. But I like this on Yanis. I like this on Chang'e as it. Chang'e, yeah.
Well. You're just not building this on every character though. That's the problem.
No, it's relatively expensive, so that too. So I love the item. I think it's a very fun item with really good stats. It's like 105 power, which isn't anything to knock at, but ideally you're not really building this that much. And then we have another escort.
Let's go. This is a core. This is such a core item, and anybody that has any form of really CC, like proc flows, whatever, disarms, etc.
Tanks. It's very cheap.
This is quintessential on Bacchus, Horus. You can build this on Kukala. You can build this on practically like any warrior or guardian, essentially, that has good CC. It's just phenomenal. It gives you plenty of good stuff, 40 of each protections, 250 health, and then every single time you proc this, you get by the end of the game, because it scales with your level. By the end of the game, you're getting 20 free flat pen.
Yeah,
20. That's insane. You're making yourself tankier while doing more damage, not for just yourself, but your team as well.
Now, usually you want to build this later in the game. I feel
you usually build this like I usually build this either 4th,
mid,
5th, or 6th item.
Yeah. There's no point of getting out. You used to build this early because the passive worked a little bit differently. You know?
It used to be like you get stuff right away, but they changed it.
But still, like, oh my god, this item. You can build this on hybrid gods too. Like if you're ever playing Circuit, absolutely build this on him. Fenrir, like, it's just one of those items again.
Build it on Thor too.
Yeah, build it on anyone, dude. Most gods have a decent amount of CC to warrant it.
Like if you're going like a full damage character, and it's like I want to be a little bit tankier, but I still don't want to betray my full damage build. Well, guess what? This is still gonna help out your damage.
Yeah.
So
there's a reason why people in the SPL are building this in their build in the jungle. Yeah. So, Stone Gaia recently gotten buffed. I still think it's niche.
I don't think it's horrible, but I think it's niche. I don't think you never build this, but I don't usually build it at all, though. If I see someone building it, not too pissed off, though. Depends on who you're going up against, too, whether or not you can proc the passive or not.
Part of me doesn't like this at all. Like, even if I were to see it, I'd be like, oh, look what he's building. Because Kins and Soul Reaver, I just don't... Yeah. It's cheap, but I don't think health items are necessarily bad. But if that's literally the entire item, then I don't think it's like... okay. We have Tablet next.
How the mighty have fallen.
Man, this used to be core.
This used to be core?
Never? In Joust. Wait, no, in Joust. Never. Am I wrong? This item is basically where it was before. I think the damage is still okay on it. I just think it takes forever to stack up, and then by the end of the time you get the damage on the line. It wasn't as bad as it when it first came out. No, it's not. It's similar. I think it was 0.4. Now it's what is it? It's something close. 0.5 or 6. I would personally put it in niche, to be honest. So I don't think it's terrible enough to put it in never. In my opinion, before this Joust, last Joust that we were in, you barely got the stacked online anyways. But I think it was manageable last patch when we were in the last map because you could get it halfway stacked online and you'd still be doing a lot of damage. Where now they nerfed it twice. So they eventually... This is also contingent on you building Book of Thoth as well. And it can Book of Thoth. If you're not building Book of Thoth, you're trolling, and even when you're building Book of Thoth, you're not getting as much power as it used to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but in this case, it is. Because in Joust, the games are getting by even quicker. With the spooling, getting online faster, the map isn't as big. There are less things to do. Your team fighting, stuff like that. And I feel like Bull Demon being really squishy, I feel like games are lasting a lot shorter. So if it's even shorter, the damage is less. Book of Thoth is bad. If I ever see someone build Tablet, I'm like, why are you doing that? Yeah. I don't know. I'm fine with keeping it never then, to be honest. Because I never want to see this item in Joust right now. Talisman, I think it's pretty good. I think it's decent. Yeah, I put in decent. Gives your home team movement speed.
and attack speed, especially good for hunters. Actually, now that I think about it, this might be good. Might be great, actually. I
Yeah.
just haven't been building it that often. Because I remember we used to be the build where build like on Guan, although you used to build this in conjunction with War Flag because they had the same passive essentially. But
yeah,
I think it's very good for your hunters. It's very good for chasing down and running away, and for MP5 for your whole team.
yeah. I put it in great. Very similar to Shoguns. Talcine.
Talcines, niche.
Niche. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like worse than Hasten.
All the rings are essentially here.
Yeah. Except this thing.
Except this dark shit.
It's got, I mean, really nothing much to say about it. It got nerfed recently. Magical ADCs aren't necessarily that good right now. You put one and one together and there you go. It's not really that good. Crusher.
I think
I
this
like
is
Crusher.
Core. I think this is core.
You think it's core? For who?
Yeah. I think it's core for most assassins that are going hybrid, where you go like one tank item and you go the rest damage, or if you just wanted to go an assassin that goes full damage. And I also think this is core for any hunter that's ability based. Chiron, Uller. You build this. You always build this on those.
Definitely on ability. Okay, I can see that.
Now, granted, we have to. This is similar to Regrowth, where you're not going to build this. The characters that this applies to, you're always going to build this. But in terms of like, you're not really going to build this on a Hachiman. You're not going to build this on Apollo. You're not really going to build this on a Rama.
Yeah. And even if you, I mean, if you did though, like hypothetically put this on Hachi, it's not bad.
It's not horrible. There's just better options.
Yeah. Definitely ability. I definitely believe this is
like assassins and the ability-based hunters. You're trolling if you don't build it.
I definitely agree with the ability-based hunters. All of them actually. The hybrid.
Manticore.
Yeah, Manticore. The hybrid assassins, I'm not necessarily sure about, but I usually build Crusher on them, so I still would put it in S. Another S, XE.
Yeah.
Cheap. Percent pendant is and it's passive. It's literally all the percent pen you really need, honestly. I mean, you can get more, but you'd be fine with that. I mean, what else? There's like
great, fantastic glyphs.
Oh yeah, the glyphs.
Both of them are very good.
One of them preferably better than the other, but
it depends on who you're, because you can build this on certain like more tanky characters. You can go the heavy executioner.
Yeah. Then we have Titan's Bane.
I think that's another S, to be honest. I think this works extremely well on a lot of assassins. And I also think this can work again on ability-based hunters, similar to Crusher.
Yeah, usually your last item for hunters, so even auto-based is Titan's Bane.
You usually throw this in on a Hachiman at the last item slot.
Honestly, I don't know how I feel. I don't know. I don't usually build a Titan Bane on a lot of assassins. Really, ever. Although, it is sort of in the meta now for most hunters. So, you can always build this item last. I think there's just a bunch of shit you can put on hunters. Now that crit isn't really meta. But, it's still, yeah. I'm fine with that. Toxic Blade. Niche as hell. When are you ever buying this?
If you're going up against like strictly healers,
and you're an auto attack based god.
You don't ever build this on hunters.
No, your power is awful.
This is strictly for auto attack warriors, but then even then you're kind of throwing yourself over with the base stats being as abysmal as they are.
It's not good, I don't think. Transcendence, I think, is core.
Core item on like all hunters essentially. Well, a lot of them at least.
All of the ability based ones, and the mix between like a Xbalanque example, you can go either that or Devos or just Aussie.
And even if you build this on assassins, you can be decent on assassins as well.
Yeah, I preferably wouldn't, but yeah, it's definitely a really good item. Hyphens.
I think that it is decent.
Yeah. Definitely better than Bandcroft's with the recent buffs to it.
I think it's better than Pythagram's piece too, but
where do we put that? Did we put it?
It's
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought we put it in here. Yeah, I like this better. Usually your last item, if you wanted to ever build this. There's obviously better items, but I think it's a pretty decent item for what it is. And then last 3 items, because these, I don't want to go over the acorns really. Vital Amplifier.
I think that it is decent.
Yeah, I don't really see it a lot. I still think it's decent. It's pretty good though.
It's very similar to Regrowth in the fact that you can only build on healers, but even more, it's even more strict than Regrowth because you need 3 separate procs. So characters like Guan, although Guan's not even auto attack based, so he doesn't really get to utilize it very well. He can't even get the 3 stacks of it because his one only procs it 1 time, and then by the time you can proc it again, it's run out. The only real characters that can utilize this very, very well, the 2 that come to mind are immediately Chalk and Bologna. Because the Scourge can proc it easily, and then his 3
his rain,
all the time. Yeah. Mulan can use it decently as well. She gets 2 procs of it in her 2, and then she can, if you're fast enough, you can get the 3rd one, and even with just 20% attacks you with 10% increased auto attack damage, it's decent. But again, she's not usually an attack speed god anyway, so it doesn't really work on her. Definitely Bologna is the #1 user of it. Hama can also use it very well as well.
Yeah.
But then again, like we said, those gods aren't very good in the meta right now in Joust. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like it. I like the item. It is pretty decent in those gods too. Warlocks. How do I feel about stacking items, man?
I think that it is a decent item.
It's definitely way better than Book, so yes, it has to be decent.
Definitely better than Book of Thoth. Makes you a little bit tanky, gives you plenty of power, some mana, and it has percent pen on it. So
I just think that the problem with stacking items right now, in any game mode, is that
you just don't hit hard early. You just don't get it online.
Yeah, you just don't get it online. Even when you do, why would you ever do that? Why would you waste like 2 to 3 minutes of just stacking when you can go Chronos Deso? They're so cheap. Yeah. They do. I mean, they're just better. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just better.
So stacking's not really in the meta right now. I don't feel like. And then finally, Wingblade.
I think that this item is between niche and decent, to be honest.
I'm fine with putting it. I put it in niche. Nobody really builds this, although I do like the item.
It's very good. Again, it's very good against. You don't really want to build this in any game. You only build this against. This is kind of a counter pick counter item.
Yeah.
You build this against teams that have a lot of slows on them. And obviously you build this on tanks. This is a tank item that you build specifically against teams that are meant to slow you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very niche.
Yeah, very niche. I don't really ever build it, but yeah. Nor does anybody else. Okay. We're going to go through these really, really, really quickly. Or are going to try to. Anyways, most of these should be easy.
Yeah. The first one is heavy XE. Are we going over the acorns as well, or no?
I low-key kind of don't want to, but let's just pick one of these. That would be the best.
Okay, okay, so if you're gonna play rat,
definitely create. No.
If you're gonna go rat, you're either going to go one of those two. You're either gonna go the green acorn or the other one. I personally think that the green, not the green one, that one's better.
Yeah, I'd probably put this one.
It gives you protections, and it also gives you a slightly worse health regen one.
Now, if you're watching this,
plus you get two of your abilities, which is pretty decent.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you're a rat player, I'm not saying this item is great. I'm just saying this is the only item you really want to go. I don't care about these. I don't care.
The rest of them are pretty bad.
All right, let's try and do this relatively quickly.
Heavy XE is the first one.
I think it's decent.
Yeah.
The
next one, I think it's
this one. This one's probably. I mean, if you're gonna build it, you have to go in one of these, so I'd probably say this is core. Just gives way too much power, or reduces too much of their it makes you do more damage, way more than the other one. Amulet S. This is why you want to build Amulet.
The reason why you build Amulet
gives you more protections.
Next one. This is the one that gives you protection when you get hit. Because other glyphs are usually built, it's still really good, but I'd say it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. This one's. Ugh.
I think it's decent. No, it's decent.
I don't like it.
Especially since there's hunters now, and they extended the range of it to where it's actually within most hunters' ranges. Any auto attack based characters, such as hunters or auto attack warriors or assassins, this is a good counterplay to them.
I just find it niche whenever I read it last time, but you know, hunters is fine. Bandcroft's Claw. If you're gonna go either of them, I think you go this one, right? If you're playing Anubis, right? This one gives you attack speed, right?
Yeah, that one gives you attack speed. I was gonna say, because you usually don't build Bandcrofts on an auto attack on a mage ADCs, so yeah, I'd say that one's probably better. The Claw is better.
Yeah.
Building it's only decent though.
Yeah, decent.
And then that one is niche.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one, don't ever build this. Please don't. It's so bad.
Horrible.
Silence,
So,
you never get the silence.
The differential. You have
one at the top.
Oh my god. Wait, literally this. You know how like Xe, both of its clips are decent, and then like you have like Jotun, or no, Jotun doesn't have a good clip anymore, but Nimble or Rada Tahuti doesn't really have the best glyphs.
Yeah.
Amulet, it has the best glyph
and one of the
game.
worst.
It literally has the best glyph in the game, and then one of the worst glyphs in the game.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so that one, the one for silencing, the purple one. Do not build the colorful purple one.
It's not good. No.
Malicious. That got nerfed. Well, if you were to build Deathbringer, I'd say that's probably the one you're gonna build because it's built-in anti-heal.
Yeah. If you're gonna build this one, fine. I'll put it in niche.
I would put it in niche.
This one, don't ever go. Really. I mean, if you're an assassin, sure, you would probably go this one, but
actually, I disagree. I don't think you would never put this in here.
Why?
Specifically because Neja. Because if you do the few characters that you would potentially build Deathbringer on, just as a solo crit item for the ult damage on Neja, and also because she has it innately in there, you can get your. I've used it before where because that works on your cooldowns. If you use your entire kit on somebody and then you ult somebody, you crit somebody like three or four times how many times you crit them in your ult, and then by the time you get down, all your abilities are back up.
I guess,
so
but
that's the only situation that I can think of where I think you can possibly use it, which I think makes it good enough to be niche.
Sure, I guess. Calamitous I think is better, but I don't necessarily think it's all that great.
No, it's. I would say it's decent.
Yeah, decent. And then Nimble Rod, it's so weird. It's a weird thing. I don't like it. A lot of people like it, but I don't. It's very niche, yeah, in my opinion. And then
Magi's Cloak upgrades.
This one, the Magi's Shelter, doesn't this one give you to where you give somebody else one?
I think like it's when you, whenever it procs on you, it procs on
someone near you, right?
Else around you as well.
Yeah.
So I think, and I forget what the other one, the bubble, makes it to where not the bubble, the
Magi's Revenge, I think.
The revenge. Whenever somebody procs on you, you damage to them.
You do increased damage, I think, or something. I don't remember.
Like that. I think that the Shelter is better than the Revenge, although I think they're both okay.
I think
if you're gonna build Magi's Cloak, I think that
Shelter's probably better.
Shelter is decent.
Definitely in Joust because you'll be near somebody. Even if you get hit, even if you're a squishy, it doesn't matter. I still think this is.
Yeah, I think that's decent. And then the Revenge, I think, is niche.
Yeah. Jotun's Vigor.
This is just not very good. I'm being honest.
Nobody builds this.
Is kind of bad. I don't think you ever build this. This is a never build.
Yeah. Jotun's Cunning gives more cooldown. This is the one you do go.
This is I
think it's decent.
Even then, this is still.
I think it's decent.
Kind of meh.
I don't think you upgrade this anytime soon though.
Yeah, I was gonna say usually when you build Jotuns, you don't upgrade the glyph like some other ones you would. Yeah. But I think it's decent's fine. I was gonna put it in niche, but it's fine.
All right, that's all of the shit. We can go over the relics real quick. I think most of you know what the basic ones do. Let's go over the basic ones. Aegis S for anything.
Save yourself. Don't build it as a tank though.
No.
Don't be selfish.
Jesus
Don't
Christ.
Be selfish. This is mainly for squishies.
Yeah.
Squishies is staple.
Blink, I think is great. I don't think you build it every single time.
Blink is great. Yeah.
Which one? This is Bracer. I think it's great.
Really?
You think it's a staple?
I was gonna say it's decent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't build it too often. It has really good stats. I just think there's better. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. I think it's really great. I just think there's better items to be going. Because usually as a tank, I always go shell,
which is S.
I either go shell and medcloak, or shell and blink, or shell and horrific, or shell and heavenly. I don't usually go.
Oh, you go heavenly? Interesting. Okay.
Sometimes I go.
I'm fine with playing in decent.
Because it helps my team run away, chase down, and then I could also go the stun one, the stun glyph.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, added CC. Bracer. I used to build Bracer all the time in season 9.
Yeah.
I just personally like some of the other ones better. Not saying it's bad, but I just personally go other ones.
Yeah. I guess Built of Frenzy is probably in the same area. I don't really see anybody build this. Or do you think it's a little worse?
I
don't really like it.
I think it's niche. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
If you want to like backdoor at the end or destroy objectives quicker.
I think it's better than it was last season, though, because you have ADCs more often.
Yeah. It's not a lot of these glyphs, a lot of these relics aren't inherently bad. They're just getting outshone by a lot of other ones that you would take because you only get 2 slots, so.
Yeah. Medcloak, I think it's S.
Yep.
S.
It's
early game fighting upgrade is really good.
Upgrade's really good. You get the cooldown version of it's
nuts.
Crazy.
There was a meta where people would automatically first item build into that. Right at the beginning of the game.
This is just good in general, and then you could also use it to counter execute characters such as Achilles, Ao Kuang, Thanatos, etc., etc.
Cursed Ankh, never.
Cursed Ankh.
Or niche. If we're gonna put fucking belt there, when are you ever using Cursed Ankh?
Here's the thing: the only time this used to be niche back when Vamana's ultimate used to be healing.
Yeah.
You used to usually build this specifically for either Vamana or if you had like 2 healers on a team. You generally don't see more than 1 healer on a team.
Aphrodite's always banned for the most part.
Yeah. Even when she is, generally normal anti-heal kind of normal anti-heal generally does the trick for her anyway. So, and most healers for that matter, because the anti-heal items, because healing got nerfed, and then also the anti-heal items are just good in general. Yeah, I don't really see where you'd ever build that for the most part.
Yeah. Sprint. You like Sprint?
I like Sprint a lot. I think it's great. I don't think it's core, but I built it.
I like Sprint. Sprint route.
Yes, Sprint route. That's my favorite one. If you're gonna go Sprint, do that one.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna put Sprint route up there, and it's right there. Is
horrific?
Is that the upgrade? No, this is regular.
That's the regular. I think that's also great. I view it as like the inverse.
I like horrific. Yeah. It's so annoying whenever you get horrific. So, beads S. I don't know why that's not already up there. Where is this? You're never building this.
Fuck no.
Or are you ever? I might as well just put these in there too.
Staple in Conquest, but not in Joust.
Yeah. Thorns. No. Although with the new hunters though.
I would say niche. No, it's niche.
Yeah.
You can build this on Kuzenbo, or you could just build this on tanks in general, late game, and then hunters will shred themselves.
Yeah.
But generally, not really.
Not really. It. Yeah. We're gonna go over the ones that we know. So this is right here. This This is a weird one because you only build. I'm sorry. No. This is the wrong one. Phantom Shell. Phantom Shell. Here it is. Phantom Shell. You're always building if you are against an enemy team like Odin
or with walls.
Kabrakan. So S. If they're doing that. If not, don't ever build this. Go the upgraded shell, which actually is good too, honestly. I'd
I think they're
put both up
they're
there.
both good. I'd put both
This gives
up
you
there.
damage mitigation too, and
Well,
movement
you
speed.
gotta imagine too. Like, people are gonna look at this list and be like, "Oh, I can buy either or of them." No, the shell. If you're building, okay, so shell is like a staple. You're gonna want to build that all the time. Which, wait, do you have the normal shell up there?
Yeah.
No. No, you didn't. Top
Okay,
right.
shell is S tier. If you guys didn't
S
know.
tier. So they're all S tier. If you're going up against, you only build the Phantom Shell if you're going up against walled characters. If you're not going up against walled characters, you're just gonna go the other one.
Yeah.
Because the other one's just very good as well.
But to be clear, most relics you're not really upgrading, to be honest. Game ends before you get to that point.
Yeah.
But if you do get to that point, yeah, what he said. So Aegis of Judgment is the one. It's this one right here, and this is the one that makes it
to where you get movement speed. Or is that the one that gives makes it to where it does?
No, this one's. Or wait, no, this is acceleration. I'm stupid. This is the one that gives you movement speed
as you're getting hit.
I don't think this was.
I think it's decent.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I don't think that's as good as this one. Age of Judgment is the one that does damage. Yeah, I think this one.
You get Poseidon ulted, you get Cuckoo ulted, and the person ulting you. You don't take any damage, and then they just take a shit ton of damage.
Yeah, I think that's S. Where's the other Berserker? I messed up.
There's some of them like tier 2s.
Wait, we forgot Sunder.
Oh, Sunder? That's fine.
Sunder, I think, is great.
Sunder, I think, is great as well, yeah.
It was core at one point, I felt like, because of the tanks.
Those double tanks, but not anymore.
Not anymore. It's still good, though. Just damage. This is Belt of the Berserker. 40% attack speed. Wait. 20% increased damage dealt to all targets, including objectives. 40% attack speed increase, decaying over 0.5 every 0.5 per 6 seconds.
I think I usually go with the one that, if I do build it, I go with the one that gives you better stats.
Yeah, that would be the Belt of Insatiable Hunger.
Yeah.
Which I don't have up here, but no one really builds this anyways. Let's pretend that this is right here. If you guys are watching this, if you care about Belt of Berserker, this is Insatiable. This one, where is it? Where do we put it? It wasn't high. It was like this.
I put it in decent.
Yeah, decent. The decent upgrade. The other one, it's just a better version of the original one, I think, which is still niche. And then we have Bracer of Illumination. I think this one.
The one that's glowing more is the good one. The one that.
Yeah. This would be the Brilliance, right?
Yeah. That's the one, not the ward one. That's the one that gives you the good stats. I think that one's great.
Yeah, because this one's the power and then movement speed and shit. So, see, we put Bracer here, but it feels weird putting this up here. But this is better than Bracer, so I think it's great. And then Illumination.
Never.
Yeah, I don't think you would ever want to build this, because this one, half health or 20% movement speed if you're below half health or something. If you're below half health, you gain movement speed and I think increased power.
Well, the other one does that too, but this one does the wards. Remember?
Oh.
This one does the thing that makes you walk around with the wards.
It destroys the cooldown of the relic is reduced. A light sprite appears that patrols back. Oh, that's right.
Conquest.
Yeah.
So it's never built here.
These beads, chaos beads.
Those are the chaos beads versus. Those are the ones that reduce your cooldown, right?
Temporal beads is the one that is the best one.
That's the one that reduces
these cooldowns. This one,
does damage to people?
I think. You deal like 5% of current. I think you do, it's like true damage, I think, which is not very good. No. This is the worst of the Cloak of the Avatar. I think it does damage, doesn't it?
I don't even know. I don't ever build it. I say
Yeah,
never build.
this is no. Whenever you have please tell me I have it.
Book of the Avatar, which you do not have.
No, I don't. Son of a bitch. Cloak of the Ascetic. That one is the one that gives you cooldown, which is the best one. That's S tier. Please always go that one. Blink rune, corrupted blink rune. This one.
I think they're both good. That's
yeah.
the one that slows down everybody.
I like that one.
I usually go this one for tanks. This one I think
is for like damage hybrid.
I think they're both good.
Yeah.
I think they're both good.
Do we even?
Never.
No, just put the Ankh. Why? Don't ever go Ankh. Is there another Ankh here?
The Sundering upgrades.
Yeah, Sundering Blast. This one deals like this one's Sundering Blast.
Yeah.
15.
That one I think that's the better version. I think the better one.
Yeah, like I think it splashes within a radius.
Yeah, it does.
That's great. And then
that one's great. And then
this one I don't think is bad either, is it?
No, I think it's decent though. I don't think it's as good.
Yeah, this one's Siphons. Yeah, it's decent. And then finally, the last we're going down. We're almost done. Let's do this one actually might be better too. Let's do this one's Emblem of Increasing Peril. I don't even know what these do. Their attack speed is reduced by 25. Additionally, their damage dealt is increased. If the enemy deals 10% of an allied god's maximum health within the duration, the debuff effects are increased by 10%.
I think this is horrific upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just the original, which I think it's good.
And then is this the one that the next one I think is the one that trembles, right?
Yeah, it's the trembling one.
I think that one's not as good. That one's decent.
Yeah.
Okay though.
Heavenly Wings. We already. This is Hastened Wings.
This one gives you the hasten effect.
Yeah.
I think that's niche.
Yeah, I was gonna put niche. Fuck, I don't know what these do at all. Thorns of Overgrowth.
Thorns. I think one of them makes it to where I believe it's the Overgrowth one. Thorns of Overgrowth makes it to where every single time you get hit with an auto attack, your cooldown goes down by half a second. That's what I believe happens. So that one makes it to where it's not even while it's on cooldown. So it's normal thorns. It just makes it to where it's up all the time.
Oh wait, no, that one's this one, Sapping Strength. That one
I think that one's the better one.
Yeah,
honestly.
I probably put that.
You can have it up more often.
I probably put that great.
Plus, essentially, since hunters are menace now, you're gonna be getting auto attack a lot more. You can get it up more often.
This one gives you movement speed, and attack speed. 5% movement speed and attack speed for all enemy gods within a 70 unit radius. 5%.
Decent.
It's all right. And we know these, so just really quickly. This is S.
That's S. 100%.
S, absolutely. Cooldown shard.
I think that's no, that's never. No.
Oh, Joust? No, never. No, you're never doing that. This one's also S.
Yeah.
For hunters.
For hunters.
This one's. They nerfed the shit out of this, but
I think it's great.
It used to be really good. And I think this one's okay.
That one is also. I think it's decent.
It's okay. And oh my god, that's it. Sorry we went quick at the end, but I think the main part of the tier list was the items. Let me scroll up here. The main part of it was the items. It's gonna be a little bit longer. It shouldn't be too much longer. Again, if you've made it to the end, I love you. You obviously put it on like 2x speed. But
or just skip to the end.
Just skip to the end, honestly. This is what the tier list is.
Or you should probably put a timestamp if people don't want to see the clips and everything.
You know, I'm gonna split it up.
They get split up to where we did just the items.
I'm gonna split it up. So if you've gotten to this point, I'm gonna put a timestamp at the beginning of the video. This is where I'm gonna say it. So right here, this is the entire tier list. This is everything. I'm gonna be putting timestamps for every single item, all the core items. And then once we get down to relics and the glyphs, and then the upgraded fucking relics, I'm just gonna put like one section that just says this is the relics, this is the glyphs, And then the main section, you'll be able to just skip through each item for whatever you want to see. Or you want to go skip the end, this is the end right here. So this is mid-season 10.5. We're recording this on the 31st, so this should be up a day or two after the Rank God Joust video. And like we said earlier, we're going to be doing more of these. Usually, hopefully these won't take as much time because we'll have it already here. We'll just be able to switch it back and forth. But other than that, if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, if you want to argue with us, that's totally fine. Say your piece in the comment section.
Yeah, flame us in the comments.
Yeah, flame us in the comment section. Next time, we're just going to put all the good items in dog shit, and then we're just going to start up a war, because we like war. But, you know, without that being said, with that being said, thank you guys for watching.